Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Let's celebrate it with or without champagne or...
Oh, welcome, everyone. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Michelle, how can I not bring up Matt, right? Matt has to speak. Matt is here. He has to speak, right? I told you, Matt's one of my good friends, so he gets to share our stage with us today. Welcome, everyone. So I've got packed studio, where you are still welcome to join the studio if you want to come and share. We've got space for 10 people, Michelle. 10 people to come in the studio and come on stage. Yeah, I'll take it. You know, it's an interesting conversation today, my friends. Let me bring my friends up. Otherwise, you might be wondering why I keep saying people are here when they're not. They're all here. Welcome. All those beautiful faces. We'll get Paulette tonight as well. That's a miracle. But we'll have to try and keep it short for Paulette's sake. Otherwise,
I've had drugs.
Yeah. You had drugs. Oh, and I know your drugs work. Your drugs work beautifully, right? Now, welcome on the view. So you get to. Well, I'll get to you pretty quickly. That way, we don't miss any of the gems that you want to share with us. You know, so Professor Roxana. Oh, you're still here. Of course, you're still here. But
I'm still here.
Excellent. Damien.
I think
sorry.
my
your camera's gone off.
Yeah, so I didn't. Something is not working right.
We can still hear you though, so that's all right.
Okay, well, good then. That's good.
I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So let's begin. So I'm excited today. I don't know why I'm excited. You know, so Michelle Ramos is here in the studio. Where do we send stars, Michelle? Where do we send? I know that there's a monetization thing that
go away. Once Facebook started monetizing trying to pay me, I don't know how to make that go away. I try to delete it. Like literally, I'm on my phone deleting it right now.
Okay, so I imagine people can buy stars, and then virtual stars, and then give it to creators that they like, right?
Yeah. I think that many people are probably just shocked that I'm like, they keep trying to make me take their money, and I refuse to sign the contract. Like, I don't want the Facebook money.
If they give you stars, take it and then go. I don't know what you do. I think you exchange them for cash, right?
Answer those questions. I don't accept the monetization. I don't agree with the terms and conditions.
Why not?
Right there. Go read terms and conditions. If you agree with that and you still want to let them give you a paycheck and then have access of...
Paulette, stop shaking your head, Paulette. Stop shaking your head.
I'm with Michelle.
She agrees. She's agreeing with me. She knows what I'm talking about. Me and her have had very many in-depth offline conversations about this.
Have any of you ever done fan base? I think that's what it's called. It's an audio app. Right. Now, they pay creators for running rooms. So essentially, it's fan base, I think it's called.
Like OnlyFans.
ANBASE, so one word.
Is that like OnlyFans?
No, Paulette. He's not like OnlyFans.
Any on OnlyFans? Oh my god.
No, any on OnlyFans never gonna happen. How is that gonna happen? No. I was celebrating the fact I was dressed before I came on the show rather than being naked, and I thought that'd be quite offensive. So I don't know. I can't be doing things like that.
You remember the striptease show, don't you?
He said, well, you're putting clothes on, Matt, right?
Yeah, that's a medical thing.
Well, you got to take that off the screen so I can delete it.
See, fan base. Oh, no. What's happened there?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go through my old StreamYard casts and find the event that Eni Osung did a striptease out of his very manly suit one evening. He probably will not admit to remembering that, but other
I
people.
remember it very
use
clearly,
that for
Matt.
his
I remember it
TikTok
very
opening that
clearly.
I got permission to create.
It's Matt's fault. Matt tried to make me wear a suit for all of his shows, to be on the shows. So I was
Where's
protesting
this
like a big
hiding?
baby. I was just not having it.
Yeah.
Right.
Where's the
Where's
camera?
Son's LinkedIn? Okay. Why is it not connected? Let's reconnect.
Gosh, we're so off topic. Okay, while we're here, Annie, and get that
comment.
up. I can't delete that comment till you take it down.
I will take it off screen in a second. Right. StreamYard has been a pain.
Financially support.
Where's that from?
Right, OnlyFans. Where were we?
StreamYard has been a pain. I don't know what to do. I'm a bit stuck.
Yeah.
Am I even on LinkedIn? I don't know. Ooh.
You're definitely streaming on Facebook, and you're definitely streaming on YouTube, and you're definitely streaming on.
But LinkedIn is an important one. Okay. I'm gonna refresh my screen and hope for the best. I don't know why I'm gonna refresh my screen.
Should
No,
we have
Michelle,
a
we're not going to
conversation without you?
Yes, you keep
Oh,
talking.
listen. So I'm just take it over because he left me on this big screen. So before everybody came into the blue room, like then we really was getting going. Annie and I was talking about why he was saying others could come is because I was like, well, you gotta have anybody that's here at least have them answer the 3 questions that you put in the post to share it. Like that's the insight I want to hear for everybody coming to the room. And that was where we was at when he started bringing people in and then went live. Like, oh, but Michelle, anybody can join. All I was saying is I feel we should all at least answer the same 3 questions.
Michelle B, don't encourage her. Don't encourage her. You know, she doesn't need encouragement, right? Coach, I see you. Welcome. Glad you're here as well. Then Michelle, your idea doesn't work. You know, it has to be an open panel. You know that's what I do though. That's my thing, and I want everyone to speak. So Michelle says, "What are we here for?" All right, welcome, my friends.
Good question.
Yes. Oh, well, in truth, all I want to do is publish your books, right? I want to publish your books and help you launch your books and market your books. But I can't just do that all day, every day. So I do events to entertain myself, and probably more importantly, to learn some serious lessons that I think move us forward. You know, I think this my topic today, which I've been running for the last 5 weeks. That's 10 weeks
6.
in total. So 10 weeks in total now. So every 2 weeks, and we covered 4 topics so far.
So then 12 weeks.
Yes, well, topic number 5 this is. So this is like 10 weeks.
Well, this is kind of technically 6.
No, every 2
Because if
weeks.
you go to the one before it, it was like the ignition.
No.
And it was you and Paulette and
Michelle. We've covered, the elements of emotion mastery. We've come down to, yes, the first one was the importance of understanding our emotions. And then we looked at how to regulate those emotions, but how to manage them effectively. And then in week 3, we looked at, week 3 being week 6, Michelle, how to stay motivated to achieve our goals. That's the whole reason why we develop emotion mastery skills. Last time out, 2 weeks ago, we looked at, I guess, how to connect with others on a deep emotional level, also known as empathy. So we'll cover the main elements. Now, this is the number 5 on my list, and I think this is probably the most important one because the question today really is, how do we bring all this knowledge that we've talked about in the weeks till now together? How do we bring it to actually help us? See, understanding emotional intelligence is one thing, right? Unless we actually put it into effect, then there's almost no point. Yes, I say all that very deliberately and carefully. Right, again, if you're wondering what is he going to waffle about today, it's hard to explain what I'm going to waffle about today. Is emotional intelligence a game If anyone cares to answer any of these questions, please feel free.
No.
The reason I ask whether it's a game, simply because my point of doing this emotional mastery series, is really to learn how to get more of what I want. In other words, if you apply what we've been talking about for the last God knows how many weeks, you will learn ultimately how to get what you want. Now, whether it's a high stakes meeting at work, whether that's a challenging conversation with someone you love, whether that's an argument or a conversation with the other half, or even with your kids. Maybe you're just trying to sit down and reflect on how you behaved. I think these emotional mastery topics and skills essentially gives us the tools to get what we want from other people.
Yeah.
That's a real game we're playing.
That's the game.
Right. That's why I call it. That's why I say, is it a game?
It's a manipulation.
It's not manipulation. It's a.
Manipulation.
It's
By
a.
giving
It's a
people
way of being.
no, listen, by giving people the tools of the skills, it's how you put them together allows you to play the game in a better way than somebody who doesn't have the tools. So if you want to call it a game, then there's always a winner and there's always a loser. And if you're going to call it a game, then you out manipulate the other person by winning. So, put me on a table and I'll play Monopoly and I'll win. But if you want me to talk about manipulation, that's what we're talking about.
I know you're a cheat. You love to cheat in Monopoly, and at all games.
Everything. Everything, Annie.
Yes.
If I can cheat, I will. Not in my relationship, not in my marriage, but in anything else, absolutely.
Peter,
Under
welcome.
the table,
Yeah, Peter's streaming from Ghana. Professor Roxana, you in the studio. And anyone else who's here, drop us a comment. Say, I'd love to welcome you properly. Just say hi or say where you're joining us from. And then I can at least welcome you with all the enthusiasm and appreciation that you deserve. Right. Come back. Let me come back to the point, Paulette. I think whilst we're trying to get what we want by doing the right things, and be very careful the words I use, my friends, right? Ultimately, there was a better place when you get what you want and I get what I want. Right? Now, win-win is a game that it's not win-lose. As you just explained, I think win-lose can end up in a mess. Whereas win-win is it's part of mindfulness. It's part of being having a positive attitude to life and a positive mindset.
Really, yeah.
We're looking at everything, right? So yes, this is ultimately about how we win. If you can manage your emotions, more chances than not, you will win and get what you want. That's why you want to pay attention to what we're talking about. If you've missed,
can I add a different perspective to that?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
So I understand the analogy. I understand what you're sharing. However, I think when it's positioned like that, it's hard for others to mature into this emotional intelligence that we're talking about, right? Like, I don't believe it's manipulation. I don't believe it's a game. I don't believe there's anything to win. What I do believe is that our emotions, they are superpowers. And they're so potent that we don't need all of it. And I think we get so consumed in embracing an emotion that we want to feel the happiness, we want to feel the sadness. But I think they're important as triggers, triggering us to understand that these moments are important, understanding that because they're so potent, we just need a little bit to understand the experience is enough. So I think if we reframe it in that way, where it's not this game where there's a loser and we're manipulating someone to get a thing, it's if we learn how to mature into it, we'll gain more understanding from others around us.
I love that. Of course, I love that. And you're right. You put it much more beautifully than we put it.
But
Paulette,
Annie, that is my therapy hat on, right? If I was having that conversation with my therapy hat on, 100%. But when we talk about Annie's world, Annie normally is talking about the business world. And it's how can I win in the business world using whatever tools I can get my hands on. All right. So I just want you to understand what you've bought into, Damien. All right.
yeah,
Talking
hello.
about
Let me
Monday,
add,
if it
Mr.
was,
Damien.
Hold on. Let Paulette finish. Let Paulette finish
Oh,
it's
first.
okay. All I'm going to say is very simply is I love what Damien said. And in the Monday Mental Wellness Cafe, 2000% you're on the money. But when we're talking about in Annie's world of how can I outsmart anybody to get that deal, right? That is when he talks about
Oh
I
my God.
use these wonderful empathetic emotions, and how can I use my abilities that I've learned over the last 4 weeks to 6 weeks to become a better human? No, he's not talking about that. He's talking about I've got myself to a position where I believe that I can win the game. Okay, so I just want you
It's
to
so true.
understand, Damien. I am
this is
so with
beyond
you,
true.
She
but
makes me sound evil. Don't
But
believe a word of
that's
it.
what
I'm
I
not
was
evil.
go on,
piggybacking off
Michelle.
of. That's what exactly what I was piggybacking off of was because when Damien had come in and we had first started talking in that green room and I was just listening, I wasn't even on camera, I was listening. And we've never met. So when I'm hearing them, I'm like, oh, this person, what they were saying, I was like, oh, we vibe, we align. And so Damien, yes, Paulette, you did. So Annie is a different breed, just like you're a different breed and I'm a different breed. Annie is a different breed, and I try to tell him all the time, like he doesn't that how you said the alignment of a brand and now that right, and he don't believe that, and I try so hard to get him to.
It's a
Mm,
hard one.
a slightly different view, which is
Go on,
that
go on, Matt. Go on, Matt.
The manipulation of the current world is that we should win at all costs, right? And especially in business, because that's what big business people do. And we've talked about this in a couple of other episodes where the big business people, the people that other people look up to and go, oh, wow, I'd like to be like Bill Gates. Oh, wow, I'd like to be like Elon Musk. Oh, wow, I'd like to be like Jeff Bezos. Except nobody actually wants to be like them, but they see them as winners because they are winning at the grand scale of success and monetary value and business success, which is what we look at and go, yeah, I want to be an influencer on YouTube. Yeah, I want to be one of those people up on LinkedIn who's got like 100,000 followers. Yeah, I want to be that person. I want to be acclimatizing myself to winning every deal. Well, that's not about win-win. That's about how you win. And that isn't how you win. That's how those people are losing. And the real win is when we all win, we all benefit because that is how we all benefit. And if we're all benefiting, then overall, the rising of that tide and every boat upon it is in a better position. And without that, we're in the very same situation that we've always been in, and why our planet is in the state that it is in so many other respects. So
Where's Michelle B? How did you do that heart thing? I have no idea. I think I'm even more the dicky heart than you, Paulette. Look,
the
let's
whole thing, you
Can
like
I
that,
just
Annie?
yeah, like that, Paulette. Paulette's close to it, right?
can I just say something? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
please.
Matt, again, you're a superhero. I wish I had £1 billion in my pocket right now to give you. You're so spot on. So spot on. And that's my heart. Now, M is a wizard, and I'll tell you why I say so. This evening, I was thinking about the subject of the weaponization of the highest virtues that we have. Great to see you all, by the way. Damien, thank you. Paulette, good to see you. Matt, Professor, Michael, and there's somebody's name I can't see quite well. No, I appreciate you guys.
Damien.
No, not Damien. There's someone who I can't see. He seems to
The-
be in the natural environment under the
Oh,
tree.
Curtis.
Curtis, God bless you. Good to see you guys. Now you see, I started out in my world being very happy and positive. It was a rude shock, and I was taken advantage of for many years before I realized that the world is actually a cold place. And there are people who have mastered anything at all, including kindness. You know, the virtues of the Bible: kindness, love, joy, all those things. There are people that have learned how to weaponize it. For example, they know you want to be kind, they know you want to be full of joy, they know you want to treat everybody fairly. Then they begin to pile, permit my use of English, a lot of bull crap at you because they know you are under a personal oath or a personal desire to be kind. It's the weaponization of toxicity. And I'm trying to say that the first point I'm making, Damien, which is to your point and Annie's point, is that anything can be weaponized.
Yes.
Anything that is good use can be abused. And we live in a world where kindness may be tough love. I'm saying that like an African. I didn't say love. I said love. Love is like an African boy speaking. There's some brutality to that. There are occasions and moments you can't love people to death. We also live in a world where we can't even tell each other the truth anymore, where political correctness is superior to kindness. And if you tell people negative news, you are seen as unkind. Those were the themes of my thinking this evening, as if any again in his wizardry picked that vibe up. But at the end of the day, emotional intelligence is supposed to make us masters of creating a better world. What master there means the more matured party, one with a better weapon for coping with the negatives of life, knowing that negatives are going to be thrown at you. I have been opportunity to do emotional intelligence training at very, very high and senior levels. One of the creeds says, after this training, I commit myself to be the better party always, knowing that I now have a choice in between a trigger and a reaction. Because I now have this knowledge, the world will become a better place because I'm in it. I'll be a healer, I'll be a carer, I'll be a lover, I'll be the elder one to say, I apologize first. The problem is that in real life and in business, people weaponize this against you. They observe that you want to be kind deliberately, and then they begin to slap you back to back. So once in a while, I swing to any side once in a while, which is, hey, please, you cannot, because I want to be kind, you now weaponize that against me. But at the end of the day, because there are many people who have turned emotional intelligence to a game, the use case of the game part of it is huge. Just observe people. The same guy shouting emotional intelligence and kindness is the most unkind person in conversations, the most brutal, underhanded person, the most mean person character-wise. And the guy starts emotional. So you find yourself applying it for game. The beautiful thing is I've grown my own coping mechanism. I've grown in discernment. So as I'm watching you, I even give people a very long group. If I suspect something, I will calm down. I'll let the person land at their final bus stop. Generally, if you keep watching, people will land at their final bus stop. You will now have to choose again. The key is you now have the capacity to choose how you will respond, not react, and how you will help them get better and make the world a better place, which is the original tool itself. So that's my point there. But thanks again, Annie and everyone. Thanks, Annie, for bringing this up. You mirrored my thought this evening.
I say thank you. You. I guess collectively, you've explained my dilemma. Why I asked the question I asked right at the beginning. Because I think it's an important one. And Coach, I think your point about I'm not saying that we want to be pushovers. We don't want to be pushovers at all. That's not the aim, right? People are playing this game on us every day, right? Those that succeed, the Bill Gates, those at the very top of business, the very top of anything. They play this game. cleverly. They get what they want because they manage their emotions and other people's emotions too. Do they exploit people's emotions? Maybe. Look at Trump. He exploits emotions every day, right? Really, he's doing it in front of all of us, and we're like, "Oh, you're a clever man. You're a monkey." Yeah. I'm looking at him on my TV, by the way. So it does nothing for me. I'm saying we have to learn how to get what we want. And yes, we can do it by going for a win-win, but ultimately, your goal, your happiness, my happiness, as Paulette explained, my happiness depends on me winning the games I play, right? I'm not going to hide it. That's how, when I win, it gives me joy. And let me tell you, I start playing the game from the moment I meet you. From the moment I know you exist, I'm playing a game. It doesn't make me evil. It just means I'm very clear about my goals. I'm clear about what I'm aiming for in life. You should be too. That's what leads you, right? Yeah. Go on,
so
Matt.
I'm listening. Oh, sorry about that.
Hold on, man. Let's hear from Damon now. Come to you, man.
Oh, sorry, man. So what I'm hearing is this, right? I think to agree with the group, yes, there is a game. However, the game and emotions are two separate things. So we have to either one, figure out what the topic of our conversation is. Is it about playing games and winning chips and playing Monopoly and winning? Like, that is a completely different topic. Because here's the thing, our emotions, in my experience, is a state of mind. And what I mean by that is, in bringing together what we're talking about as a group, yes, I do agree that there is manipulation in every facet of life, from religion to corporate America. It is there. I agree with that. Once we've matured into the person we would like to be, emotionally intelligent, these things don't phase us. We realize that there is a lion in the room. We realize that there are sharks in the water. If we start investing emotions in it negatively, we lose control. And I think that's what we're talking about, right? That the minute we lose ourselves in these moments, are we getting played?
Yes.
And if that's what we're talking about, I do agree. So aside from it being a game and winning and trying to achieve things, I think the topic is, how do we stay centered when we're faced with these hard decisions?
Yes. Look, you're a more noble man than me. Right? I think that I think the bit I would take forward from from the point you make, Damien, is, I guess I'm trying to get us to manage triggers better. That's the thing. We must learn not to react to situations. We must learn to respond. That's why I'm quite able to admit, we have to be very choosy. You have to be very deliberate in how you respond to any situation. And that goes to say, from the moment you meet someone, from the moment you have an idea, and it starts involving people, you start playing the game of being intentional and not letting things trigger you into a response that you like. Look, when we are triggered into responses, when we're triggered into reactions, should I say, we almost always regret the thing we do in haste, the thing we do without thinking. Almost always. Let's stop, letting people prod us into react. Let's learn to be more discerning and be more deliberate in choosing how we respond. And that response is only guided by what we want. Yes, I can see everyone's hand up. Matt, let me come to you. Otherwise, I feel like I've cheated you. Go, Matt.
Okay. And my point obviously fits into what Damien was saying and what you're saying, in the sense that the game and what we want as human beings is two entirely different things, right? The game is literally a game in every sense of it, and that game is probably best depicted as wrestling. because that game usually has two sides to it, two things that are fighting in a ring, or sometimes a Royal Rumble, like there's more, but that's only obfuscated by the fact that they're there to win or lose, right? Now, we as people can either get involved with that and support one side or another, war or peace, or the sides in the war and peace, or the political decision between one party or another, or to do the right thing or the wrong thing, or whatever that thing is. And that can be based upon many triggers, like you said, Annie, right? And our purpose in life for the people who are running that wrestling match is to participate. Our purpose in life for them is to provide them with the money, usually taxes or the money that we pay for products and services. And that's what we contribute. Or in the extent of war and peace or medicine that kills people off and such like, those costs are not the costs of our tickets that we are paying with taxes and money for goods and services. Those are the lives of us and our children and the families and people of the world. And realistically, what Damien was saying is entirely correct. We need to look at this as what we want as human beings, what we feel is what is important, not the competing in their game. And once that we realize that that is a game, like Damien was pointing out, we can focus in on what our emotions are, what we feel, what we want, what we desire, what we really need, which is peace, which is a world that benefits everybody, because then we're not in competition with each other. The game is then against us, against them, rather than us against each other and fighting these pathetic battles that really just benefit them. The people who decide who wins the wrestling match, not the people in the ring, not the argument in the ring, nothing like that at all. It is literally, and it is clear to see in the world today to many people, myself included, and some people not. And some people might look at this and say, well, yeah, that Matt Allen is wrong. Well, again, that's your perspective and not a problem with that. I don't have a problem with anybody's perspective. This is my perspective, which is it should be us against them until they give us what we want. Because what we want is what they should be giving us, because they're the very people who promise, who swear on their life that that is what they're going to give us, which is peace and love and joy and kindness and happiness.
Look, I get it, Matt. I think I get it. Paul, I'm going to come to you next. I get up. Again, I was having a conversation earlier today before I started the show, right? Wouldn't the world be nice if everyone had that emotional mastery where I want what's good for everyone? Yeah, I want what's good for you. You want what's good for me. Wouldn't that create a glorious, happy world, right? But that's just not how the world works. I want what I want. You want what you want. And hopefully there's a middle ground somewhere where you can have what you want, but you have to be. And this is why, in case you're wondering, Damien, it's why we talked about motivation halfway through, right? Now, your intentions, your values, your goals have to be what directs how you respond and how you act and how you feel almost. Otherwise, we are just feeling and doing, and what's the point? Maybe there is some sort of solace in today's conversation where if we learn how to manage social situations, interactions with other people, social skills in other words, then we do create a happier world for everyone. But don't be fooled. I care about what I care about. I care about what I want. And I will play that game for a long time, not by exploiting people, but just by being intentional and being very, very mindful in my head while I'm doing this. I get screamed at by people every day. Lots of people scream at me, right? I don't bat an eyelid for any of them, unless you're an important person, unless I have a reason. When I say potential early, because you might have thought I was just joking. No. everyone in my little mind fits into a box of sorts. I know people don't want to hear that I'm saying, but no, I know what our relationship is. I know what we're working towards. And I will play the game until we get to that point where I either achieve what I want from our relationship, or I realize I'm never going to get to what I want, in which case I will just stop talking to those people. I really do. I'm not a bastard. Doesn't make me a bastard. It makes me an honest person. No, hold on. I can't come to you. Matt, I have to go to Paulette first, right?
No. Are you sure you're live on your wall? Are you sure you're live on your wall? Check.
No, I'm not sure. StreamYard says I, but I've just had to put a link to my YouTube on the event page, just in case.
All right.
So if you can't join on LinkedIn, then by all means please go to my YouTube channel and join us from there instead.
There's enough blog platforms.
I have no idea what's going on there, but no, let's know. We're here, our friends are here, and there's also a replay to be had. So let's go over it, right? Paulette, let's come to you. Paulette.
Okay, well, I have to be quick because my slippers and turning into a pumpkin and all that.
Cinders, midnight is close, right? It's not really.
It's in my world. As a Pam, and I'm everybody's or anybody's, so it's bedtime really. The point I was trying to get to, and I really think it's important, is I teach emotional intelligence. I teach about listening to your inner thoughts. I teach about your gut instinct, your mind, how they're all connected, how we need to manage those thoughts, right? And one of the key things I always say I tell the children to say, what would Walter do? Which is four box breaths, so that they get a chance to go, before I punch him and get expelled, before I throw the chair in the air, or before the computer goes up, or the pot of red paint goes over someone's head, they just take that 4 seconds to just breathe and think, what are the outcomes? What are the results of these actions, right? So we always have, as we know, the reaction action circle. I think it's really, really important that when we talk about emotional intelligence, we don't make rash decisions. We think about what we're going to say, what we're going to do, what the outcomes are going to be, who could get hurt, who could feel lied to, who could feel cheated, who could feel like they've been outplayed. All those thoughts should go through your mind. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about, and Matt is extremely passionate about the planet and life and fairness. I think I would like to call you Matt Fair, Alan, because you are all about fairness. And the world just isn't bloody fair, right? And we need to try and change that. And I'm up for that, and I'll wear a badge and I'll go to battle for fairness. Fairness, love, kindness are the things that I live by. But they're my pillars. But my pillars get knocked down every single bloody day by somebody trying to scam me, somebody lying to me, somebody begging for money, somebody telling somebody else that I helped them and I asked them not to, so they get sent somebody else to me. So in the end, you get a very cynical head on your shoulders, right? And so what I would say is this: I believe in love, kindness, and fairness, 100%. I believe that we should all think before we speak. And we should all have the other person's feelings very much at the front before you open your mouth. Because if you're going to hurt someone, then that's not right. And when we play the game of winning, I play the game of winning because I outsmart you. I don't hurt you. I just outsmart you. I outsmart you because I'm smarter than you, right?
Is it outsmart or outthink?
All of them. I can outthink you, I can outsmart you, I can outplay you, I can do all of them. But I don't want to, because that's not what I should need to. I should be able to bring my credentials along, and they should be sufficient for you to say, I'll choose you because you look like the sort of person who does all these things you say you do. But what I find is people come to these rooms and they say all these wonderful things about what they are and what they do and what they are and what they will do and what they won't do. And then you go look on their profile and you see their responses to other people, and
Mm,
it's like night and day, right?
mm.
You know I'm telling the truth.
Different
So
person, completely.
people, exactly. Whereas I'm afraid what you get with me is what you see is what you get,
Mm,
as Michelle knows, bless her. But the point I'm making is this: we really do have to up our game. We have to be more caring. We have to be more considerate. We do have to be more compassionate. We do have to look at every single person's reason for being the way they are.
yeah.
Have they got triggers? Have they got traumas? There's lots of different reasons why people react the way they do. And if we don't know them, we could react in a really, really unkind way.
Mm,
But the point is, Annie, if we are talking about a game of business and winning in a business scenario, or if we're talking about life, they're two very different things. You know that, and I know that. Bezos and all these big, high flying, gazillionaires weren't the ones sitting there thinking, oh, I do hope I didn't hurt their feelings when I
mm,
sacked them,
mm,
because they just sacked 5,000 people without a blink of an
mm.
eye and open
It's
a
true.
factory in Taiwan, right? You
Mm,
know, the difference is that I could never do that because my heart would be in a million pieces. I couldn't do it,
Hey,
but they
Paulette.
can.
So I agree with that 100%, and I think you said something that I want to address, right? You said your pillars get knocked down often. I think if you have the pillars of trust, honesty, and all the things you've mentioned, those pillars they get pressured, but they never get knocked down. There's a distinction. And the thing about going back to the game is this, right? Think about Monopoly. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any Monopoly players in the room, but have you ever seen the banker lose at Monopoly?
no, that's why Paulette's always a banker.
The banker never loses at Monopoly. So if you think about that as a concept, right? The minute you surrender to it being a game, you've already lost. And what we don't really understand is we don't need to engage. We can create our own game. Self sovereignty is a part of emotional intelligence and understanding that if you don't like the board that you're on, create your own game.
Sorry,
I
Damien
agree.
and
Sorry.
Paulette. Damien and
Who's
Paulette.
talking? I thought it was Matt. Okay.
Sorry,
Coach, go and carry on, please.
yes, Damien and Paulette. Again, I wish I had another 2 billion in pounds, and then
Mm,
you have it in your account by morning. For me, I'd had just this evening, like I said, I was thinking about the weaponization of good virtues. There are people who can see through you and they always want to take advantage of you. The other thing interesting, Paulette, is that people have interesting ways of hurting you. The problem is it's your repercussion that shouts louder.
mm,
And that's why the book of Proverbs, I think, says
great.
a little folly for a wise man is like a very large sport. If you're already an emotional intelligent mind, just a little deviation to lead to what Damien also was saying. Just you are like the banker, you are like the one of the last guardians of society. A little a little deviation or hurt in that your armor, and you begin to act back, has a lot of consequences. The other thing is that for those who play games, the game always plays them. They're emotional intelligence. I have a post in mind. Just stand aside and watch the game. Gameless always game each other. Just with a little patience, remove yourself from because they are hurting. There are people who have been duped before, who have been hurt before, and they've not forgiven those who hurt them. So they are looking for who to bleed on. So you lover, you carer, you emotionally intelligent, enlightened soul, learn to decontaminate always. Learn to
Mm,
stand aside in patience. The game always destroys the gamer. The
yeah.
game always catches up with the gamer. It's a matter of time.
I can
That, that's what
I can accept that, coach. Okay. I mean, Damien, I would say this is the game of life that we're playing, right? If you want to come to the studio, Michelle, feel free. I think you got the link in your DM. Otherwise, it goes on your WhatsApp, right? I think that it's a game of life we're playing, and that's the most important game we're going to play, right? So let's learn some of the rules. Let's learn some of the tools, the skills that can help us to play that game. You know, our conundrum is that we can get win-win. We can also get I win, you lose. But as Coach just said, we can also get that horrible reality of I always lose because of how I react. Sometimes even how I respond. As you said, Coach, sometimes the response it gets more of a reaction than the initial hurt, than the initial behavior that got us to where we are. Emotional intelligence can help all of us to bypass that situation. But again, I couldn't care less, who's right, who's wrong, as long as I get what I want. I will say this about what Paulette said, which I think is hugely important. In everything, the question, how does that person feel? What do they want? Is a big guide to what we can and may want to do. Because it's only by giving you what you want, it's only by acknowledging your feelings and being respectful of your feelings that you're going to give me what I want. Okay, and I do want to hear from Professor Roxana and Curtis in good time.
And I think that's the trap that I'm trying to have us avoid.
Mm-hmm.
If we surrender to the feeling, the emotion of the thing in the moment, that's when it really gets explosive.
Yes, it gets messy.
Yeah, it gets really messy quick. So I think there is a scale that I usually visualize where lack of emotion is on one end and being pragmatic is on the other.
Mm.
There is a balance between both, right? Like it's not an extreme where you're gonna, and by the way, we're not saying be emotionless. We're just saying if you're a master of your superpowers, you'll be able to use logic and pragmatism to dilute the erosion of emotion that usually comes in tough situations. So it's almost a stoic approach to understanding that using them as a signal will help you understand the situation that you're in or that we're in, and having the ability to not strike but to support, because it's not to give you something because I feel like you're going to be happier, because that's an assumption and we're both going to lose. It's really understanding why we're in this situation and is there value being exchanged.
Yeah, no, look, again, I can accept that. I guess our topic today, and maybe the bits of our last time talking about empathy. It helps to understand. It helps to have that ability, as Paulette mentioned, it can sound very fleeting and impassive, but it's not impassive. I think this is a central part of the conversation today, and emotional mastery, really, especially when it comes to social skills. It is that question, how is that person feeling? So we need to actually learn to ask the question. And then wait, almost either we're going to get an answer from them or we'll have to analyze our answer from the conversation we're having. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. We need to learn to truly it's not just ask a question, maybe it's also care how they feel. Now stop in whatever we're doing, ask the question. Now ask yourself, do I know how they're feeling? And if you don't know, then we have to ask them, how are you feeling about this situation? And then we can begin to ask, what can we do to help you to get what you want? Again, for most people just want the very most basic thing in humanity, which again is part of our social skills toolkit. What most of us want is to be listened. But we don't even want solutions to our problem. We just want someone to say, yeah, Emmy, I know why you're pissed off. I know why you're angry. I know why now I know what you want. I know why you feel the way you do. Most people walk away from that saying, I'm all right with it. In fact, Damien, thank you. I like you. I actually do love you. And it's giving me that space to feel heard and seen. A lot of people don't give people that space, right? They just carry on with their messy ways and their messy wishes and their messy selves. They couldn't care less about anyone else. I think we need to learn to truly understand, or no, say care about how others feel, and then get to understand where they're coming from. I say when we do that, everything in life almost flows the way we want it. No, it's not a game, but it's about understanding people's emotions, about understanding how people feel, why they feel the way they feel, and what we can do to make them, encourage them, support them, whatever you want to put it, right? I want them to see that I understand how they feel and give me what I want. Ultimately, that's the reality of the situation. Let me go to Dr. Roxana. Dr. Roxana, what's your point? Joan, say Lady J, glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here from Facebook. LinkedIn's just, I don't know, it's gone wrong somewhere. Who else did I see earlier? Dr. Roxana, I'm going to come to you next.
Okay.
I see Coach David. I see Michelle. No, Michelle's still here. Oh,
We're a lot here. So
yeah, welcome as well. Sorry, Professor Roxana. What's your
yes,
take on this conversation? The social skills.
yes,
Where
I
does
am.
where does it fit in you? And of course, I know you teach kids.
Yeah, I teach kids, and I have been alive for a long time too. So I have been alive.
I didn't say that you did.
Yeah, and
You're only 21.
I
You're
have
only 21.
yeah, I have five kids. Or they're not kids; they are between 45 and 30 something. So even if I didn't learn from teaching kids, I have had children that are old now too. I have grandchildren, and you have to teach them sometimes. And we learn social skills from the community. We have to communicate with others and see actually what we have to learn by intermingling, staying with the community.
I agree.
It's learned by interactions because you will never know that what others want and how can you not offend somebody by interacting with them, and actually by them saying if you offended them or not, but you may not know because you may not know, you're not a mind reader, that you probably offended somebody. And if you did, how can you make it better next time? So you can seek feedback, practice empathy, and then because it's actually caused by lack of practice. If you have been practicing, suppose what's going on, but suppose
No,
we are here in
it's
America.
all right. It's all right. I'll just turn the microphone, Michelle's microphone off. We'll come
Okay.
back in a second.
So if we are here in America, when I came here, it was like a culture shock because I didn't know. It's even though I came from somewhere, I was an adult. There are things I didn't know how to behave about or how to. So I have to ask, or somebody has to tell me, okay, this we don't do this way. So sometimes I think that if you feel you're offended by somebody, you can find a way of communicating that without, and the person I know will say, okay, I am so sorry, I can do that better next time. Because sometimes you don't even know what some people are going through. They might be acting out of what they are going through. So, but anyway, some problems are caused by lack of practice, social anxiety, poor emotional awareness because the person may not know. And cultural differences, negative and past experiences. Maybe sometimes there was a woman I worked with. She always says, if I do this, please pardon me, I have been hurt a lot of times. Did you hear that?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're right.
Somebody might not even know that it did something wrong. So she tells me that all
Mm.
the time. I say, okay, so why do you think that I misunderstand you? She tells me because I have been hurt all the time, and I kind of think that some people are bad, but it may not be that they're bad, but it may be that they don't know how to relate or they haven't had that problem before. But I believe by practice, by intermingling with others, by actually seeking feedback, we can um, we can do better. This is a big hall. Well, we can do better. So that is what I need to put in. Uh, Much of our social skills be learned from social interactions.
I
That's
agree.
all I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
No, so I agree 100%.
Thank you.
We have to learn. We have to learn
Yeah,
this.
because we don't
Any
assume. We don't assume the person knows. What if the
No.
person doesn't know that it's hurting you anyway? So,
yeah.
Mm.
but Annie, I love your group. This is a hall. This is a classroom
Can
here.
I Prof, can I just say something? Thank you for that, Prof.
Yes.
Communication is king. Never
Exactly.
assume. Never assume.
Yeah.
This evening, Emmy and I had a very interesting conversation, and he messaged me said, "Emotional mastery is key, David."
I
he,
did
text,
too. I did too.
he texted that to me. Now I wanted to respond to him to
Mm.
say, "Thank you for that." But if you know where I've been and what has happened to me, you would actually say I'm the master of emotions.
Mm.
It was a transaction. I had been in a transaction where I was totally made to look like a fool because I was playing the emotional intelligence game.
Mm.
Because I didn't follow up because I was trying to be emotionally matured, I was taken for granted and walked over in a very bad way. In fact, a whole department lost the budget for that year.
Wow.
So a management coping style happened for me, which is micro checking. You give me a date, I keep hounding you on that date. That was not the original me, it was adaptation because of something that happened to me. So Annie didn't do something the first day he gave me his word. I said, I've gotten better. You give me your word the first day, you don't keep that word. I'm already freaking out very heavily. But this time was the third time. He kept saying, don't worry, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I began to stress him. Then the next day, he said, emotional mastery is key. Calm down, David. Emotional mastery is key. Now I could have responded. I could have responded to them and say, Annie, you have no idea. I said, we're going to talk about it physically later, maybe on a proper call. On both sides of the equation, um, both to the person that is making the mistake and the person that the mistake is being made, there's always history.
Mm.
There's always transferred reference. And that's what I hear from Prof. The
Mm.
ability to suspend judgment until we have communicated is
Yes.
the king. Until we are
Yeah.
sure, and then we can react or not react, we can respond appropriately. Thanks for that, Prof. That's a
Yeah.
big
No,
lesson right there.
Thank
I
you.
think it's a two-way street, Coach David and Professor Roxana. Where I think part of social skills is being able to communicate clearly, as you say, Coach David. Communicate what you want and how you feel. And the flip side of that is also being able to understand when someone communicates what they want and how they feel. There's two sides of the same coin, right? Going back to Coach David's point earlier, I knew exactly how he felt because I've done this long enough and I've listened to him long enough. When I said, emotional mastery, and then I sent his report, the next message. That's me saying, I
You did
get
that.
it.
You did that.
I
You did
get what you're
that.
saying. Yeah, I know. So that's how I brought peace to our situation. I'm saying, if I did not understand how you felt, then I would argue with rather than just doing the work I had to do, right? So we'll find a happy place. I think feeling offended is a point, Professor Roxana, that I think we need to probably dive more into. Because the simple reality, people do what they do, maybe for the reason that we're talking about. They're chasing their own interests, and many of the reasons Professor Roxana mentioned, people those who don't know just don't know. Michelle, I'm going to come to you next to talk about why some people struggle with understanding how others feel. Why people struggle with dealing with social cues that we all take for granted. So I think it's important. So some people they just don't know. But we need to find become better at communicating. But this all goes back to everything we've covered in this 10 weeks, right? If you don't know how you feel, how can you communicate that?
I'm sorry, but if nobody told you, and you have no way of reading somebody's mind and finding out actually, is this person mad at me or something? Because you can actually say, okay, you can make it up and be sorry or whatever it is, and learn to move on, find a way to fix whatever the problem is. But I don't think assuming that people know what you think, because we're never mind readers. That's what I think.
That's never going to work, right? It's never going to work. Now we need to be better communicators.
Yes.
On both sides, how I feel, saying how trying to understand how you feel when you communicate it to me, and sometimes the reason part of the communication problem is that a lot of how we feel, especially in social settings, is non-verbal communication, unspoken word,
body language.
Yeah, so we have to learn, and even tone. See, but all of that is ruined. That's all of that is. It's affected when we do stuff online. The power of an email to truly upset someone is remarkable.
Yeah.
If I say the same words in some emails to you in your face, you'd be like, I get it. And in an email, you take offense. You're like, how dare you say such a thing? My coach just mentioned it very in passing just now in a WhatsApp message. I'm saying that's amongst friends, let alone amongst strangers, right? I say the miscommunication potential is so huge these days. And some people.
Sorry, I put into you. I have a joke. Please, all protocols observed. Forgive me. The word flash. When GSM, Global System of Communication, came in Nigeria, the word flash means, Professor will agree with me, I ring you because I don't have enough credit. You call me back.
Yeah. Flash call.
That's flash. But the word flash in the West and developed economies means that a lady is trying to seduce you or something by opening her clothes to you. That's flash. I go for a conference in South Africa, and a lady is a friend of mine that was in the other. So the guy just said to the lady that, "Did you flash me?" The conference went out of. Look, it became a big issue.
That's culture shock right there.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
That's a criminal offense, right?
The guy was crying. The guy was almost crying. You could see him almost say, "I'm sorry." In Nigeria, it means just to call. Say no. Are you saying I'm trying to? Do you know the kind of person I am? It became a big issue.
Oh my goodness!
So everybody had to go and look into the books, into the dictionary. Oh, you don't say flash within Nigeria. It's okay. Once you step out, you don't say flash. You say, "Did you call me? Did I miss your call?" As simple as that. And it's total context.
It's like the one looking at CCTV camera, trying to see whether he did flash someone.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying about acculturation. Because the way we do it in my social circle right there, down there, it is not the way it's interpreted here. So
Yeah.
some things I do might actually convey another different, totally different something over here. And then I think that, so sometimes when I came, I was new here. I'm sorry if when I came here, after some time, I was employed to teach in secondary school. And they told me before I started teaching that, remember, that the students we have in secondary school here, they don't respect people like those who, because you can smack them in Africa. I told them yes. So the principal called me a second time and told me, you do not smack people.
Don't do that here. You get arrested. You get arrested.
The principal told me again and said, under no circumstance do you touch a child unless you are trying to pet him or her. We do not smack students. I told him, even though I haven't taught here before, but I had that. Even I was kind of giving a test when I was doing my master's degree in Converse University. We do not touch children here. That is the first thing that will either break you or make you. I know you're going to teach. And a lot of them would not even listen to you. So that's actually what I learned from when I went to teach what is called this going to practice teach. I don't know if you know.
Teacher training, we call it here, right?
Yeah, teacher training.
Yeah.
So each day I come into a class, they will tell me, okay, you go to this class, my trainer will follow me. They will just listen to the voice, the tonality of how I talk to the children. Because they said, it's not even what you said. It's about the way you said it. It's your tone. Because a child can just leave your class and start crying and start saying that you shouted at him. So your tonality will matter a lot. If you want, so that's what I told me 20 years ago. If you want to keep your job, be careful what you say, no matter what your emotions are. Oh, okay. So after about 2 years, I learned that.
I think what you're saying probably it emphasizes the need for this social skills even more, because I'd say if you haven't got power over someone, if I know you talk about kids. I'm saying if the biggest the big company, the bosses, they have power over other people, right? So they can behave in strange. They can demand what they want. They can force people, despite how they feel, to do as they say, right? Otherwise, the job is at risk. But when you have to, what's the word? When you have to mold people into your way of thinking, that it's win-win. We're trying to get to them, right? When it comes to kids, trying to make them understand why your rule or the way what you want them to do is important. They have to buy into it, and you have to do that without force, without
raising your voice. Without raising your voice.
All right. That's real social skills.
There are two schools of thought. There are two schools of thought. There's a power model and the influence model. When all you have is the influence model and you don't have the leeway for power, then communication and one of the uses of communication beyond understanding, the recipient must understand exactly what was in the mind of the sender. That's the one. Number two, there must be change of behavior. That's when we say learning has happened. So mastering how to adjust people's behavior by how you use your own body language, voice, and all of that without being threatening is one of the keys. And there are people who do it. Movie directors do it. Script writers do it. As boring as whatever is, people still, attention span is low. People still watch movies for long. There's a whole body of knowledge around making communication enjoyable and getting people to start behaving in a new way. Advertising does it all the time. They modify human behavior. And so as community, as leaders or managers, we can also master the same skill set. So people are more willing to do in a nice way rather than co-opting. Because The use case of power is limited in life. You will have to deal with more people with influence than power.
I agree. Influence and persuasion, which
Yes.
amazingly comes down more to doing more listening than talking. Strangely, then I did look. If you're thinking, where's the meat into this conversation? This is it. That this is part of it. No, we're going to drop nuggets all the way along. That's what we've done so far. If you want to have that influence of persuasion, it's not if you have to have influence of persuasion if you can't beat someone into it, which most of us can't beat anyone into anything anymore, right? So we have to develop that skill. Part of that skill is learning how to communicate. And telling how to communicate comes down to listening to people, checking what you think you've learned, what you think they're saying. So play back what they said to them, right? And then find a win-win. Do you get what you want? They feel listened to, and they behave the way you want. In business, it's call to actions, what we're talking about here. So we have to learn the skills bit by bit. Paulette, I know you had your hand up earlier. I know your time is going. I would love to know how, apart from that, you say what you're going to say in the first place. So please help us with how do we teach social skills? And now I'm going to come to Michelle about to know what.
Well, I don't want, as I said, I'm going to go to bed, so I shall just be quick. I think the
Okay.
most important thing is about teaching kindness. Kindness is actually the root of everything. Okay? If people are kind to each other, if people are pleasant to each other, if they can't be kind, at least be pleasant, right? There's no need for anything other than that. And then we work from there up, okay? So for me, when I talk to for example, in the therapy room, you would use the acronym WAIT, which is why am I talking, right? So I would stop, I would ask a question and sit there. And even if we were in silence for 5 minutes, which can be quite uncomfortable, but then they'll suddenly realize that it's their turn, right? We have to get something from you to move this forward. And I think that is what's so important about what you're talking about. You cannot have a communication that is one-sided. That's called a monopoly or
Yes.
monopolizing the conversation. You cannot have a successful communication if all parties haven't agreed the terms, right? Otherwise, what happens is you end up with one person thinking they know the rules and the other person thinking they know the rules, and they're playing with two different sets of rules, right?
And
So
that's
it's
not a game.
that's back to your game again. So it's not a game if we don't all know where we stand. So we should all be looking to try and be the best humans we can be. That's the first part. And from there onwards, we can teach our children to be like us and to be better than us. If we are this, children can be this. Providing we've given them, back to my pillars, strong enough, solid enough pillars to cope with life. And yes, the pillars will get bashed. You're absolutely right. But what we have to do is be able to say, okay, that hurt, but why? Why did it hurt? What happened? What was it that made us hurt? And understand the reason behind it. But I really do believe 100% that every single person in this room and everybody who's watching, everyone who's listening, has it in their heart to do good. Just don't always choose to.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I agree. We have to we have to want to do good. I definitely agree with. Because everything that we want is on the other side of doing good. And being that person, I guess, being that person who gets who cares about other people. Ultimately, that's going to get us what we want. Michelle, I want to come to you next. Nikki, Michelle, and Michael. And I know Matt had his hand up as well earlier. I do want to hear from you soon. So I'm going to come to you. So I'll come to Nikki first, and then I'll come to Michelle, and then we'll go to Michael. Michelle Ramos. Sorry, before I do that, Michelle, Coach, let's talk about what this E body language is and looks like in one of. Let's talk about this next event. How's that?
All right, awesome. Because there's an e-body language,
Yes,
and it's very powerful, and it's probably more powerful, and it's in people's brains and minds.
It's in our everydays now these days.
Yes. When you see words, there's a way you read words. There's a way I read words, and people use those things without knowing that some words can tick people off. I mean, you don't write one-liner emails. It feels a certain way. Just one line. You should open warmly and close warmly. Some things that, but we'll talk about next time.
See, but there are people who hate a long message. One of those people who does not. I love the shorter the better. You can do it in one word. Let's just do it in one word.
No. Open warmly and close warmly. Open warmly and close warmly.
I agree, but no, look, etiquette is a thing, right? It's a thing. So, and I get it, Coach. Now let's talk about it properly. Let's properly beat it up, and then let's see what we can learn. We just lost Michelle B. So the people if you're trying to get in the studio, my friends, please bear with us. We're gonna have 10 in the studio, no more than 10. And then someone has to leave for us to get someone else back in. Paulette's going now anyway. Paulette, bye, Paulette. Thank you so much. You're a superstar.
She's still here.
I wanted to listen to Michelle Ramos, but you keep talking.
She's still here.
I'm so upset. Sorry. Michelle, go on.
Oh my God. This is so like this. I'm gonna just start with any thank you. This is an amazing conversation. To people watching that don't know who I am Michelle Ramos, and I am the founder of Don't Raise Statistics. I am a mom, I'm a barber, I'm a fierce advocate. I challenge systems. And this conversation resonates, and I believe Annie invited me because of just my very unorthodox and we got echo. So I'm listening. I'm taking in everything everybody's saying, and I do not disagree. I don't even think there's really anything I could say that I don't align with, that I couldn't even take a piece of. But the one thing I feel there's just one thing I haven't heard be said, and with that, it is. So for me, I think kind of maybe Annie was getting ready to like just go into, but it's that this self-education for me has been a war zone. Learning to read a room, for me, that's survival. That's not etiquette. I didn't get the polished skills of TED Talk speakers, and I didn't have mentors and leaders and opportunities guiding paths for me. And where I feel there is a huge misconception, I will always speak on my own self, my own experiences. And the we is usually more just for understanding the collectively of like the work I do in Don't Raise Statistics, and where we try to make the most community impact. And what that is that my social skills, they're born out of like complete chaos and me having to redefine what it meant for like radical accountability. And I needed to be able to rebuild a foundation of unlearning taught social skills that I grew up not knowing these were unhealthy or toxic or damaging. And I had to commit to the courage and the discipline to stop checking boxes. And that's what I'm hearing a lot of right now. There's a lot of conforming and reducing or making the self less than to fit what the societal norm is. And it's no disrespect to anybody that's spoken. But I think that's where I differ, because I live in my moment. Whatever reaction may come in the moment, I will never regret it. How you said that. I know. I regret no response, because I am that true and authentic. I had to learn how to do. I was trying to break generational patterns and unlearn people pleasing skills through survival, and relearn how to connect with people with authentic, meaningful, intellectual conversations. But I had to do it respecting my boundaries and allowing space for my discomfort. So where some people may feel that I am too in your face, or how my social skills are, they're not meant as a disrespect for others. They are meant as a protection of myself. And another issue we have is that the social skills, you got to remember that you can't meet somebody where they're at until you fully know who and where you are. And that is a big issue I also didn't hear really talked about too much. I don't want to meet nobody in the middle of any conversation, business or professional, if they aren't even secure with themselves, what they're doing, where they're going, and what they represent. Because I can have a job, I can be working or helping somebody build their dreams, but the moment that our values are not aligned, the moment my integrity or my character feels compromised, there's no dollar sign that will make me be socially respectful. There's not. Because I know what my life purpose is, I know what my goals are, I know what my intentions are. And if you're not able to sit with yourself in that silence that Ms. Paulette was talking about, which it takes years of a lot to get to, you really don't have a place to judge somebody for why they do what they do or engage with others, how they engage with others. And then that brings me to where I'm like, let somebody else take over, is that, like, what our social skills play in society is really a point of a conversation of, like, in which manner do you want to look at it? And this isn't even necessarily them saying business or private. This is more so meeting somebody where they're at means acknowledging that they can only be accountable for what they know based on the resources that they've had access to and the environments they've had exposure to. You can't expect somebody to be better and to do better until you've shown them better. My success has been from struggle. My success has been from outside trying to silence what I'm saying and me refusing to be that. So there's a lot. Like, you got to be able to name your feelings without shame. You have to be able to sit with your discomfort without blowing up. You got to be able to hold space for others without losing yourself where they should feel safe.
Yeah, it's because I know you well. I know that you are clear about your goals. As you just said, you know what you believe in and what your values are. And life is easier for all of us when we are clear about our values and what we're trying to achieve. But so I know when you have your way of doing things, you have your processes, and like you say, because you have good intentions, it can't be a bad thing. Some people will take it as a bad thing, though. Some will take it as, Michelle socially awkward. But I know you're not that at all. And especially you have great communication, which I think also helps you for sure.
But
Right.
see, that was good because I didn't always have this communication. The communication I had from the social skills I was raised with created those atmospheres of me blowing up and being argumentative and defensive and worrying about what someone thinks or feels about me. And it took years of discipline and courage and commitment and having the ability to allow my mind to not be just stuck and not be complacent. I have to say, this ain't okay. But then I question, well, why isn't this okay? I had teachers see me in situations that today I would have called children's services. I would have found help. I had to unlearn all of that because in my mind and what I was surrounded with, that was normal life.
And Michelle, I'm so glad you shared that because I think the perspective you're sharing strips away all the other things that we're talking about. And this is the essence of what we're the topic is, right? This emotional intelligence isn't about the gain, the business, or the personal interests. Bye, Paulette. I think it is understanding who the human is that we've become and how do we serve as that human without the gain? Because the emotional intelligence that I've heard across the room so far is a direct reflection of how we've all been manipulated, how we've all been designed to think in this system that we've been introduced to. And it is for profit, it is for gain, it is for winning. And we see it at every single level. And this is why we think we have to participate. And when we're winning, it still feels like we're losing because we're not really tapping into the thing that is the true essence of who we are. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think that that is it, right? It's how do we start to understand who we are first, the good, the bad, and the ugly, embrace it, and share it with others in a way that doesn't come over as condescending, confrontational, but it's a means of communicating your stance and your position in this world.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's a great question. I think it's one that we'll definitely need to unpick, Damien. Who?
yeah, can I just?
Of course. Now, this comes down to who are we really, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, what's in your soul really?
yeah.
Go.
Thank you for that, Emmy. Just a quick one, Michelle. Thank you. You are super authentic. Thank you for that. When we started, any said a statement in passing that we're not talking about being that we should not be doormats in any way. Emotional intelligence has a module under it called self-regulation and regulating others. There's nothing in the material that says we must be doormats. I think there's a misconstruction of the communication somewhere along the line to mean be a doormat. Actually, authenticity is one of the elements. In fact, you are advised to communicate exactly how you feel, although making sure that the other party does not get any other emotion that you don't want them to get. Being in control of yourself enough to communicate, for example, that I'm upset, or this is upsetting, or this is wrong, or this is unacceptable for me, yet not losing your dignity or creating further problems for yourself so that you now get into verbal assaults and things like tantrums, which a lot of people do once they are not happy. That you can communicate all the negatives if, and in fact, let me say this, no emotion in this spectrum is actually negative. They are all data for you. That anger serves a reason. If you're feeling angry, it's because there's a blockage. If you're feeling anxiety, it's because you need some information. If you have fear or panic, it's because there's something deficient in your assimilation systems. There is actually a whole body of knowledge on the emotional intelligence spectrum around the fact that emotions communicate, even the negative emotions communicate something to you, and that anger can be channeled and used and converted, and that it is data that is missing that's causing it. I said that to say to Michelle, by the way, again, you're my hero. I had another billion right there. And I believe that the universe is listening to me and God Almighty too. One of these days, I owe those guys I mentioned money, £1 billion each. Of course, any will get £2 billion.
Yay! Yay!
But you see, the bigger point is that there's a billion for Michelle. You've actually grown. and to repress you was is anti-emotional intelligence.
Mm.
That is not, in fact, the awareness is where it starts from. To be aware that this is upsetting. Why is it upsetting? What is going on in my subconscious mind? Why do I think it's upsetting? What do I think? What do I feel? What is my mood consequently? What's my value system also? As we begin to analyze all of that across the spectrum, we get more awareness to communicate exactly how we feel, not being a doormat or being a pushover.
Mm.
So that's the additional point. So Michelle is a journey, and you're already on that journey, and you are actually emotionally intelligent fully. Is not repression, but what I call channeling or streaming, so that you are able to focus on what is most important and get your desired results per time, and the over spillage of the emotion does not um, enter into things that you don't want, unintended consequences in the communication or how you live out the emotion. That's the point I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you. Like, I agree with you. So I think part of the conversation, is about being able to resolve conflicts. As conflicts is, but it's a strange word for it. The disagreements, misunderstandings. We must resolve them tactfully, and there must, I mean, in Michelle's words, strategically. Think bigger when these things do happen.
I
And
think
find a
that
way.
one thing that is important to say and to acknowledge is that these levels of social skills and communications and interactions, you have to remind yourself at points that there is a moment when you are being professional, you're respecting your personal self, but then there comes a moment when it's just blatant disrespect. And where do you draw the line? And I think that that is when it comes to mastering your personal social skills. And for myself, this was where people are often mistaken for my actual intent. People are often very wrong for what they believe my message to be, for the reality of what it is, because of an assumption or because they came into a situation with me with expectation. And you have to be you have to be at a place where you got to know that as a self, you got to end the conversation. You have to end an engagement. You have to end a relationship, a collaboration. At what point do you does your self-respect and your take precedent?
Oh, I love that question. I would love to know what other people think. Oh, that's my
Can
screen
I
as well. If my screen
respond?
freezes.
Can I
Um,
respond?
if you can do it quick, Coach, because I want to hear from Nikki and Michelle.
Okay,
Michelle,
let me just quickly let me disrespect is a no. Disrespect is a no. But violence in response, disrespect, mental health, personal health attacks, they're all no-nos. But how you choose to respond must not now further put you also in jeopardy. There's something called excessive force of violence. Even when you are attacked, let's assume there's an attack situation, you can be and you react, you can be charged and literally go to jail for excessive force. This in extreme situations. The rule is that one should also be rational enough to withdraw yourself and protect yourself, yet not putting yourself in further harm. That's why we are Homo sapiens, we are rational beings. That's the addition. Disrespect, toxicity, no. Abuse, no. You're being abused. There's no respect on the table. All those things, no. But the thinking is that we must also not jeopardize ourselves. For me, I tolerate some disrespect because some people don't even know they are being disrespectful. Number two is that some people require a lot of care. I'm a social researcher, so I'm curious about disrespect. When somebody is being disrespectful, I like to watch where the game is going and permit me to what game so that I can help them better. Some people are literally hurting, they don't know they're disrespectful. I used to have a boss who was never late to any meeting. He's the chairman of the business. His name is called Biodushuban Job. Remarkable man. Now about almost 90 now. At that time, he was the first to any meeting. If the meeting starts at 7, he'll get to that meeting at 6:55. Latest is there a minute before 7. Throughout all the years I worked with him. But there's this guy who keeps coming late into the meetings. The man did not, he won't talk. He will just look. There's a look he had. He had this look. There's a look that you don't want to disrespect the old man the next time. He'll just look at you a certain way. You keep quiet 1 full minute stare, then he'll continue the meeting. Now, gradually, the guy got cured of that. He responded to the antibiotic of his stare. But if I was the chairman, I'm sure I'm going to talk. I'm going to use my mouth. That is, hey, you cannot be coming. I feel it's disrespectful of me for you. But the man did not talk. So the head of HR now told me that I haven't worked with him for about 15 years at the time. He doesn't talk. Your body language, that he's a master, people just conform over the years. As soon as you start working with him, you find yourself beginning to change because he will modulate you. You can't be late around him. He will look, if there's a deliverable, he will come to you a week before. Is there any problem? What can I do to help you? Then he will come another week again, another 2 days after. Then he say, can I review with you before the final day? After a few weeks or months of working with him, you begin to have solution. You can't be late around him. And he doesn't talk, he doesn't get into fracas or shout at you. No. You will just suddenly start changing. You can't dress anyhow, you don't polish your shoe. He will stare at the shoe a certain way. He will look at the shoe. Next time, you won't put on the shoe to the next meeting with him. You're gonna do something to yourself. So there are ways of managing people and modulating behavior and using body language to modulate others, especially as a manager, rather than outburst or shouting, or those things can create further rebellion and further resistance and more crisis. That's my experience.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you on that one. We need to find a way to respond that gets us what we want, and often being smart is better than shouting at anyone, right? Michael, where's Michael gone? Michael, it was here just now. I do want to say, mention Tom's comment. Welcome, Tom. Glad you're here. So Tom says, the biggest element in emotional intelligence is listening. I agree totally. Listening without judgment, listening without listening to respond, listening just to hear what's really been said. That's at the heart of this series I've been doing, and where you just have to learn how to give people the space and the time. And maybe part of it, it's also partly asking the right questions along the way, the questions that clarifies what you're hearing. As Tom says, if we listen and read between the lines, then we detect emotions, fears, anxieties, passions, and so on and so on and so forth. I guess many don't listen. They interject too often, and they're thinking ahead. They're thinking of an answer before we even finish talking. And when we don't understand what you're saying, we don't ask the question: is this what you mean? I mean, it doesn't. It takes a few more seconds to ask the question: is this what you mean? I'm going to right end of the stick, and then we can say again. Part of this social skills is simply engaging with people on a real human level, on a level of care, level of I give a monkeys about what you're saying. I actually do want to know what you're saying. I actually do want to get what you're saying. I want to get where you're coming from. Not everyone does that. I'm sure we all agree on that, right? As Tom said, instead listening to understand with empathy and offer feedback, idea, solutions. In emotional exchanges, people need and want to be heard. That's the truth there. No, for sure, Tom. Thank you so much. Sidewise coach. I don't know who Sidewise closet coach is. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. And I see your many comments and great points. Thanks for sharing that, Michelle. So I like that. So Tom also says that listening is a game changer. It's all about connecting with people on a deeper level, right? Dead right. Was it, Coach? For sure.
It's like I want to say is you got to listen to understand, not to respond.
Mm, mm. But how many people do you know who listen for the sake of it? No, really. They listen to respond before you finish talking. They're responding already. Some will even finish your sentence for you, as if they know what you know. As if they know you so well that they know what you're gonna say. It's a balmy thing to do.
We do it to
Michelle,
each other often.
let's talk to Michelle. But yeah, if you know someone well enough, even then, I'll still say be careful about speaking for anyone, because they will rightly think you're not listening. They rightly think and realize that you're assuming you understand them before they've even said it. Let them say it, and then you can respond. A few more seconds doesn't hurt. Never hurt anyone. Michelle B, that deep question.
I think you guys are all perfect.
Where are your boundaries, Michelle? How do you draw the line between someone who's being rude and someone who is, someone who's been, or even maybe even been offensive? Where do you draw the line yourself?
Where do I draw the line? When my gut tells me to.
I like that.
I mean, I know. Yeah. A lot of people have always assumed with me. I apologize for the way I look today. I'm like Paulette. I have a migraine. Welcome to Michelle's migraine on steroids, and I hear everything backwards, being dyslexic. But yes, I have picked up most of the conversation. Matt, you're an awesome person. Damien, I love you. Now I have to do all this by memory, you guys, because my eyesight's changed, and so we're actually having. I bettered my eyesight, believe it or not. Nikki Narkis, thank you. You're amazing. But people have always assumed, and when you assume, you take away someone's voice. And not only that, do you take away their voice, you already put in your head what you feel about that person. You can't take it out. And people do that to me a lot, to where that's give things nicknames. We just have to listen, not listen to answer. And honestly, that's why I don't like coming on Litigant again. It's a lot. All right. I'm not a social media person because of all my disabilities. The lights, now that I'm actually on a laptop, that's why I have a migraine. And it sucks because, now I got to go. Well, actually, it's cool because we learned about what's wrong, but I'm having to switch from a little phone to a big screen with all these other flashing lights everywhere and stuff like that. And people are assuming that I'm fine. I'm not, folks. Or I wouldn't be taking the medication I had today and look the way I do. It's a lot for someone like me with sensory issues, and especially for someone that is trying to break every boundary there is and prove that we can heal ourselves, which we can. Actually, I made my eyesight better, and that's my issue right now. And I've had to train myself to use my phone because I was blind. Well, now that I have actually made myself better and better and better, and my doctors will even tell you, we don't know how she does it. But people are assuming now that I just don't care, and that's not it. We're still going forward with everything we have been going forward with. Medically, for me right now, I thought I was going to have a seizure this morning when I got on my laptop. When the lights started going in and out, and when everyone freezes, it triggers so much in through my eyes, and I've never actually felt that until I got onto a laptop. So this is a new experience for me, and we need to quit assuming that we know what's going on with other people, because honestly, we've made mental health so taboo. No one honestly knows what dyslexia is, what autism is, what, yeah, because there's so many different parts of it, and so we assume a lot. And that's why I'm here today. I want you guys to see me, and I want us to all stop assuming, and I want us to pick up a phone and text that person and say, "Hey, is there an issue? Is there something wrong?
Yeah.
Are you guys still there?"
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
My whole thing- Now, see, my whole laptop just went off, and you guys are all black again. Oh, there you are again. See, and that right there is what triggers my migraines, my sensory issues. Why we are trying to bring back my eyesight, bring back my voice, and everything. And I don't apologize for any of it, because you know what? I'm succeeding in this, and this will help every person in the world. But I do want to make sure that you guys all understand I love you all. And that's why I'm going through this, and I'm putting myself through this hell. And I'm on a balance board 3 hours a day. On a balance board, folks, trying to open up the back door to my mind of dyslexia so I can walk and talk and see again. And it's working. It is.
A quick question for you, Michelle.
Yeah.
All this talk about social skills.
Social skills
Is it more a challenge for you?
Social skills suck, because everybody's social skills suck. All right. And unfortunately, that's okay. Now you got me going, Annie. All right.
When I said, I'm very good at doing what I do.
Yes, you are. You are.
Tell us about your social skills issues.
When it comes to social skills, you guys, what's hard for everyone is none of us have social skills, because all of us have assumed and made things so taboo on this or that. Everyone's forgot social skills. Everyone forgot we can all go roller skating together and have fun. Social skills. And so honestly, when I go out and I'll twitch like I do right now sometimes, it's hard to be called a crackhead when you've never tried it. It's and yeah, that hurts. Social skills is something we all need to relearn, because we've made everything so taboo and so assumed so much that those are our social skills. So how can we change our social skills unless we change our mindset? And that would have to be everybody. And
I want to jump in, Michelle.
Yeah.
Because you just said, like, you get called a crackhead because you twitch. And like, this is what, like, the point that I want to make is, this goes to show how emotionally intelligent you are to recognize it and not respond to it, number one. And number two, collectively as a whole society, this is an issue that needs a whole entirely different engaged event on its own. And it's because of those preconceived notions that when somebody who does have intelligent social skills and is socially competent, then society deems them as a crackhead, or that person knows too much, or that person is just angry. Because then that's where the people that are actually capable are the ones being chastised.
Yeah, and we've done that to ourselves with society, and we need to stop that. We need to start understanding and caring each other. And if you do see someone like me, that's why, I didn't want to come on here today. You can ask Annie and Paulette. I took my migraine medication. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to lay right here. And I listened actually to a Brown fan for about 3 or 4 hours so I could get on here as a Brown fan noise. And and I wanted everyone to
I love
see.
Brand Van, by the way.
Huh? What?
I love Brand Van.
Oh, right. But I wanted everyone to see that I'm not hiding. I just it's hard. It's like you got to fight with your mind to turn on a light. I've had this migraine for 2 days. I didn't want to say anything, but I think Annie knew, and so did the other lady I was doing a Zoom with. I had to be in the dark, and I even tried to make a joke about it, but I couldn't turn on the lights because migraine, and it's nothing that anyone's done. It's because I'm healing myself and my eyesight's better and I don't have the right glasses. So when I go out into society, I can't walk right or anything. And instead of that person that used to run across the road to help the old lady across the road, now they whip out their phones and they laugh and they record it and then they throw it on social media. And that's just horrible. And that's just not something I want to deal with. And I don't think anyone should have to deal with that.
It
So,
creates isolation.
huh?
It creates like self-isolation.
It does. But no, honestly, I'm happy with the way
No, I'm saying like I would rather just be happy in my bubble in my house than go deal with the public. Is what I'm saying. Like you're so used to you've calloused to the societal expectation and action.
Yeah, it's and that's one reason we're doing what I'm doing. You're right. I've got my brain is so like in and out right now. You guys, but no, everything you guys are saying is right, and I am going to start getting out there more to show people this isn't. I'm not scary or anything. I just wanted to show what a migraine looked like today, and that we can do this, you guys. We can change everything. It's going to be hard. This isn't going to be easy. This has been a 4-year adventure and stalking Annie for almost 2 years now. I mean, I stalked Annie for, no, we're going on 2 years now. We're in March. I got a hold of you last year. Well, I followed you last year and stalked you. Actually, I stalked all of you, to tell you the truth, because I stalked you too, Michelle One. But as soon as you came in there on YouTube and you're like, hi, and I was like, oh, well, let's just see what you're about. But I do that. That's me.
I mean,
I'm that person that
can I ask what perception was made of my stalking?
I loved you.
I'm just teasing.
No, it was like finally a real person. It's hard to find people like yourself. All right, it's hard to find parents that are passionate about their children. You hear parents say it all the time that they're passionate about their children as they're driving a Jaguar and their kids have holes in their shoes. All right. And those weren't the friends I wanted. I can find a lot of those. And so, yeah, Michelle One, I did. I wanted a true friend and I found one.
Yeah.
And I wanted a true publisher. I found one. Professor Rockman, I just wanted a beautiful human. I found you. Coach David, I just wanted a beautiful human. I found you. And I know I don't ever want to pronounce your name. Nart.
Nikki. Did you call her Nikki? That's the
You're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
I just love you guys. But you know what? It's hard going out there, even on Lydican, to find people, let alone out there in the real world. Here you feel kind of safe because you guys can't get through the screen at me. But on the real, people don't walk across the street anymore to shake your hand. Instead, they want to videotape you and throw you on YouTube for some reason. I don't know.
Look, I think that there is a point, Michelle. I think Michelle and Michelle. In case you don't know, my friends, we we started a room a couple of weeks ago with the two Michelles talking about that thing. Let's talk neurodivergence. Maybe we should talk about how you develop the social skills in our room, Michelle's.
You know what? I think that would be a good one for next week, Michelle. I think we should do that.
Uh,
Because you know what? I've never met a woman, and you know, I'm really trying to not cuss and everything. I got a sailor's mouth. I'll admit it. But I've never seen anyone that can change the way you do, and I guess be able to put on a pair of pink balls and go in there with the men and say, "Let's play." I got mine, and you just slam them on the table. I brought mine with me. I'm
a
ready.
pink duck, more like.
I feel like
And that's Paula.
I grew up being told what to say, what to feel, what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where to do it, why I had there comes a breaking point.
And there does.
Yeah.
But I think the whole world's at that breaking point, you guys. And maybe it had to get here. I don't know.
I believe that, and I think that what we're doing with Annie's importance is that he creates these spaces that let us have these deep, intellectual, vulnerable, safe conversations. And then the magic is that they're global. We're all diverse. Oh, yeah. They're inclusive. Nobody is despair. If you are not brought into these conversations, then the reality is you need to go stand in your bathroom and you need to look in your mirror and you need to really question your actions and the words and where is the misalignment. Because any is not, he don't care what any people's personal things are with him. It's neutral. There ain't picking sides, and he makes sure that when you're in a space to speak, you're safe to do that. And that's what this world needs. We're having the conversations people only think.
No, but someone needs to do it, Michelle, because they want to do it. Don't think they ever don't want to do it. The people have assumed so much for them. They don't have a voice anymore, and I can't.
This is what I tell Annie.
Having a voice anymore.
I tell Annie all the time he needs to go to Facebook more because there's so many people there that should be on LinkedIn that have amazing, brilliant insight. But it's like we don't come from the environments that we feel we belong on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
I didn't think I belonged on Facebook.
I think Facebook, it's a different place. That's what I'll say. Yeah. I'll say this. It is thanks to people, all of you who do turn up and share. I can't talk to myself, can I? I'm saying so. You're the ones that bring the gems. So I am, of course, determined, or maybe on the mission, to change that's reality for so many, where you feel like isolation is the best policy. That is that's probably what I'm trying to change is with some of those conversations. With social skills, you learn how we develop the skills to face the world, and to face the world in a way that works for us.
Exactly. Now, understand, I have no problem going out into the world, but because I am partially blind and deaf, I can only do it with someone I trust. Straight up, I have to trust you 100%. And it's because our world is different right now. It's not like how it was in the 70s and 80s. And that's the whole reason I don't get out much, is because you've got to be able to trust who you're with, almost like a seeing eye dog.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, but I'm also, don't think I'm just sitting around at home.
Of course you're not. Of course you're not. Look.
But I mean, and when it comes to going, you know what? Honestly, I can't really go to a rodeo. Why? Probably get stampeded. Why? Because I'd wander off into a cow.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Look, Michelle, let's hear from Nikki. Nikki's been here for a long time. And then, when Nikki shares, then we can decide how we move forward. Nikki, thanks for coming back. I was and I was heartbroken when I saw you fall off the stage. I was like, ah.
Wow.
I found my composure again very quickly. How you doing, Nikki?
I am very, very grateful. How are you all? How are you all doing?
We are blessed with you.
Yeah.
Now you know the feeling is mutual. Okay, that's not one-sided at all.
No,
And and thank
what's
you
your
for
take on this conversation around social skills? What is it? How it affects, or how you see it affecting life, and how we learn better. Any of that, I'll let you do. How's that?
okay. So first, I would like to acknowledge everyone's contributions that I've been able to hear because everyone said so many powerful things and had so much provocative thoughts in their shares. So I want to acknowledge that. And one of the things that stood out to me is Michelle Ramos asked a question. She said, when does respect take precedence, right? And Coach David had a very wonderful reply to that. So I'm just going to piggyback from what he said, as I also move my kitten out the way of the screen that doesn't realize she's bigger. Okay, bigger than when she used to do it when she was like a baby. Anyway, um, respect should always be a precedence and should always be given, right?
Mhm.
The thing with respect, though, is that not everyone, like everything, not everyone understands what respect is and how to stand in a space of respect, not just for themselves, but for other people, right? And so then there comes a time where, out of our respect for ourselves, for what in the space that we're able to hold it, where we show up where we announce or declare our boundaries, right? Now, um, I'm one of those people where one of the things that's helped me is I don't take a lot of things personal. In fact, I take few things personal. If I take something personal, it's because it has met my radar of 99% being, yes, this was definitely about me in some form of fashion. This was about or against me, and I need to either stand up for myself, speak up for myself, or dismiss myself or the other person. Or if there is room for correction, then to give that. But a lot of times that also comes from, gauging. It depends on, for me, the person, place, or thing. What's going on in my life? What's going on in the world? What's going on in their world? And how serious is it for me or to me? Like how much does out of all the things that's happening in the world and my world, how much does this even matter? And how much do they even matter? Because I'm gonna tell you, as much as I take a stand for humanity, I will not take a stand for humanity over myself. I will not take a stand for humanity at the expense of myself, at the sacrifice of myself, for no reward unjustly. So I'll weighing that, right? But I hold a myself in a very high regard for respect. And I was brought up in a home, and brought up with mannerisms of respect, and where we develop and grow in our boundaries and understanding boundaries, and when we cross boundaries. So, but I also understand that not everybody had that. And not everyone has chosen to do the work, the inner work and the shadow work to improve themselves and their social skills and their inner social and their interpersonal skills. And all of these things play a role on the type of person, the type of human that we are being and how we're able to interconnect or not with others. And I also hold myself in a place of love, self-love. I hold myself in a high regard of self-love. Now sometimes I will confess that sometimes I get lax a little bit in the care, right? I may get a little too comfortable, but not so much so that someone can have space to negate my person, to negate my being, or disrespect me, or disrespect my space, cross boundaries, or project their shortcomings, their insecurities, and whatever else they have going on onto me if it does not apply. I think one of the things that needs to happen is, really encouraging people to own all of who they are. And Damien, I believe it was Damien that spoke on this in a response to Michelle Ramos's question in regards to when does respect take precedence. When we can own all of who we are, inwardly as well as outwardly, meaning, hey, I am a flawed individual as you are. Where my flaws show up may not show up in you. Where your shortcomings and flaws show up may not show up in me, but we are all flawed individuals. So while standing in the place of self-love and respect can sometimes put us on our defenses, it's also being able to kind of look at other people and not really stand in their shoes, but try to see things from their perspective. Like, if I know that we have different backgrounds, if I know that we have different upbringing, if I know that we have different education levels or different introductions to the world, different networks, then the way that we relate, we're just on there's different layers to this. Maybe my way of standing on my boundaries and addressing disrespect in any form just needs to be weighed on a scale in my approach and or my dismissal. Because some people and I think everyone right now that's on the panel are of age and maturity level to be able to know when you're dealing with someone, even if it is a one-time conversation. You know when you're dealing with someone that knows that they are attacking you or intentionally or not intentionally but willingly know that the way that they are behaving is not socially acceptable or should not be. And in that case, you can choose to just dismiss them. No, not everyone has to stay in your space, and you don't have to stay in everyone's space either. And not every departure requires an announcement.
I love you. I know we're connected, but everything you just said is, I really need to book something with you.
He's amazing.
I really,
Nikki, if I can
I
piggyback,
like that.
Nikki, what I would love to say, like, and when I, like, I don't scroll people's pages often, but I try to, I make sure my schedule, there's intentful time that I really, if you look at your profile views and it says I'm looking, like I'm genuinely intrigued, right? And looking at your page, what I want to say, like what I love about your style and approach, you give space for that transition period that many will never speak of. And that is from when you're learning yourself and you're setting a boundary, people think that that is the work. But the true work comes in enforcing these boundaries. And then that is often where a lot of people are like, oh, that person is disrespectful or that person is this. But what they're not taking into account is that person's self growth of their self love and the boundary they built to protect themselves. And I love that space you hold for that self work.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you so much. And I hold that space not just for myself, but for all of us. For all of us. Um, we owe it to ourselves first to be a good human or a better human or the best human that we can be, even in owning our flaws, our good, our bad, and our ugly. And we all, and guess, you know what? We all have it. It's it's acknowledging what is that about you. I'll tell you, for me, like I can be sarcasm is my second language.
Oh God, I love
Quick witted is my second language. I love it. Some people can handle it, some people cannot handle it, but I'm not trying to change it. My wordplay is always ever growing, right? And my wordplay can either be uplifting or it could be like a sledgehammer to your ego. It depends on who I am being and what's going on in my world today. And it also depends on who you're being, right? But either way, I have to own that, right? And for the people, because that is not something about me that I am trying to change. I'm not working on it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not even pondering it. I embrace it. I accept it. It's one of the things that I absolutely love about me. So for those that cannot stand in that space, they can choose. I don't have to choose for them. They get to choose if they want to continue to be in my world and navigate with that and choose what days they can take me and what days they can't, or they can choose not to be, because that's not a thing. Out of all the things that I have, out of all the characteristics that I have, that's the one that probably is saving me from saving me and saving you.
I like that. You know,
What's going on?
if you're British, you know, you say sarcasm is our, that's just our language, and we're very good at sarcasm. We love to say something, mean something very hurtful, but most people don't understand what we're saying. But we like that. Now, Nikki, I would say this. I think knowing your boundaries is so important. Knowing where your lines are, where your red lines are. You know, it's like say, if someone comes at me, I'll normally look twice, right? I'll look twice, and if I see what I see that you are being rude, I will react, and I mean react deliberately. You know, maybe it's not. I'll respond aggressively. Yes, I'm bearing in mind what Coach David said, rather than if you know a while ago, which is to be wary that our response does not aggravate the situation in a way that we don't want. You know, so I know that it's if someone goes to me, I will react aggressively, usually, and rudely. Yeah, but you have to work extra hard for that to happen.
I think the word is accordingly.
No,
And
no. Sometimes I go over the top deliberately because I choose to. I want to make my
I
point.
know you, and I feel it's appropriate. I don't.
I hear
It's
you.
accordingly.
I hear you. I hear you. Look, Michael, I'm going to come to you next, my friend. Let me welcome my friend Ty. Ty, what are you doing here? VR property guys. No, I was in a room yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I think they're talking about buying property abroad. No, it was Monday. Stanley's Power Thinking event. No, he has a Monday event now every so often where people come and present. And Ty, I was going to tell him about the house we bought in DR, thanks to you. Ty's my good friend, Dominican Republic. I got a holiday just to go and see him. I have done for years. The only place I go, by the way. That's Ty. He's such a good friend. I'm so glad you're here, Ty. Welcome, 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 welcome. Hopefully one day you get to meet him. And if you want to buy a property in Dominican Republic, you must talk to Ty for sure. And anyway, I'm happy, Ty, that you're here because it means that you didn't perish under that roof that fell down. I saw it in the news. A roof fell down on the nightclub somewhere, and it's like, is Ty there? I wonder. Anyway, we're coming back this year, Ty. Calm down. We're coming back this year. We are coming back for sure. You know, it's when, because we have so much to try and organize, and these events don't go away, right? Ty, thank you so much. Okay, you don't sound. I don't know, Santo Domingo. Okay, I don't know. They haven't said. They said it's in the capital. To me, that means Puerto Plata, but to them it means Santo Domingo, right? Ignore me. And me and Ty could talk all day. Ty, join the conversation. Let's go to Michael. I'm so glad you're here, though. Let's talk to Michael. Michael, I'm glad you came back.
Hey, what's up, Annie? How you doing?
I'm all right, my friend. What's your take on this social
I
skills
need
conversation?
to drop off quickly, Annie.
Oh,
Thank
sorry
you
about that.
all. No, that's
Thank
fine.
you. Thank
Michael,
you.
Michael, I've missed you. Thank you, Michelle R, Michelle B, Professor, Nikki, my good friend, Annie, superhero. You guys are. I need to drop off now.
I
You
love
too.
you,
You
Coach
you are
David.
too. You take care.
David,
Thank you.
Take care.
you did not
Have a good
miss me
night.
as much as I miss you. So,
Oh, my brother. I'm
I
sure
like
we'll catch up. I'm sure we'll
I
catch
like
up.
I
I'll
like
need
Yeah.
to
well,
drop off too, Annie, and I just want to thank Michael, Michelle, Romans, Michelle, the other Michelle, cousin
Michelle B.
Michelle
Michelle
B.
B.
Yes, I've already sent you a link. Thank you so much for all your shares. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. I don't know who I'm not seeing very well, and thank you, Annie, for
It's Nikki and then Michael, the other two that are here.
Nikki. Thank you so much for.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank
Your
you.
book,
Dave,
your book is being
Dr.
being
Take
done
care.
tonight. I had to do
Great.
coaches reports
Thank you
last night.
so
Your
much,
book will get finished today.
Annie. You are doing wonders. That's
Okay.
why we talk about you. Thank you so much, Annie, for all
Thank
you are
Thank
you.
doing,
you.
for
Love
Thank
bringing us
you.
you.
together. Thank you so much.
Bye,
I
bye, bye,
appreciate
my
you.
friend. Bye, my
Bye-bye.
friend.
All
Thank you
right,
so
bye.
much.
Thank you so much.
Michael, we're with you now, my friend. Talk to us.
Oh well,
Ty,
Annie.
join,
Now,
I'll send you a link if you want the link to join. Just let me know. Michael, it's all yours. Talk to us.
okay, tell me something. What exactly have you guys been talking about? Because I came in earlier.
Everything. Right. So the conversation is around social skills. How do we develop social skills? What is it? Is it important? How does it affect us in life? And how do we develop it more?
All right, this is something that there's something interesting that happened to me today, and it started all the way in the morning, where I get phone calls from my ex, and she's asking for money. She wants to go to another location, basically move around. I was like, okay, I can send you this much, and that's it. And she keeps on asking me for more than I can actually deliver. And I said, I can't deliver that. I don't have the capacity to do that right now. And I keep on reiterating it to her while she's making all sorts of plans, sending me plans and deals like that. So I'm getting this information, and then she starts demanding for the promised cash, which I did not promise. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Where am I going with this? And seriously, it really got me upset. because I'm going back to dealing with the same thing that I had dealt with before, and I'm saying you have not changed. You think the world has to rotate around you. It does not. You cannot demand it to do things just because you are who you are. It just doesn't happen that way, you know. And I want to say that back to her, and I say, did you feel the same kind of thing when you went to see your mom and when you went to see your dad? Did you also demand the way you're demanding right now? Was there any connection? You know, uh, well, let's just say that things just went badly when she went back home, and it just ended up with her coming back. And I'm not so sure why she came back, because I was telling her being at home is much better. You need to recover from there. You need to rejuvenate, etc., etc. And that was the place where all things positive can happen. But no, 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 no. She was adamant all things positive were not going to happen there, and she retaliated against everything that was being presented. What kind of DEI do you have to be, or what kind of emotional intelligence do you have to have in order to take this on, or to say, things are going to be all right, or how do you cover this? So I ended up being pissed off. I'm still trying to get as calm as to keep my calm while she's doing all of this, and it's been like that the whole entire day, ramping up, going down, ramping up, going down, to the extent that I have to say, I'm getting these phone calls and saying, no, I do not want, and I'm thinking in my head, I don't want you to call me to tell me this. I'm in the middle of a meeting. I got to do this, making up all types of ridiculous excuses just because I do not want to have a conversation. Because I know where it's headed and I do not want to explode.
I hear you. I love you. I love the fact that you always bring a real thing for us to deal with, Michael. Look, Ty says, block your ex and move forward. That's a bit harsh. A bit harsh. It depends what your relationship is, I suppose, Michael. Here's now. If anyone else have a response for Michael,
I'm gonna just jump in and agree with your friend real quick. And unless there's a child involved,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, run.
No, there is a child involved.
If there's a child involved, then absolutely there has to find another route. But if someone's in that situation with no children involved, that's like a million red flags.
Go to therapy. You both need therapy to raise that child. Think of that child instead of both of you thinking of yourselves. Who does that? No, you ask her.
Nothing.
No, you tell her you want money. If you want money, guess what we're going to do? We're going to go to therapy to learn how to raise this child since we're not together anymore. And you keep thinking I need to give you more money. Well, we're going to go to therapy so we can do this and raise this child. And that's the way it's going to be. Or you need to go find someone else that's got more money than me and have another kid and get married. It's that simple.
Let me say this one thing about social skills. You don't demand or pressurize. What you do is influence and persuade, as Coach David said earlier.
I was just gonna say, like, when a child's involved, a lot of people go into that mindset of, oh, it's 18 years. But the reality is this is the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Even after they turn 18, there's gonna be milestones, there may be weddings, there may be grandchildren, there may be so many things that bring family units together. And people, it's my situation of family estrangement with no contact, no reconciliation. That is extremely rare. And the social skills required for co-parenting, that again, and is an event all in its own, because that's like a whole different breed of social skills.
Yeah,
you got to navigate everything you just described, Mr. Michael, emotional abuse, mental abuse, like the damages to the children. Like that is a whole different level of social skills that, again, there's not near enough data, research, and conversation revolving.
Michael, this question for you. I think you know the answer to this. What could she have done? How could she have approached you differently that would have made you at least think about a request?
It's simply this. I recommended a solution. She didn't follow it. And the way I think about it is kind of like she should have just followed my solution.
Can you meet in
If
the
she
middle?
wants to argue with me about the solution and tell me that it's no good, blah, blah, I'm just going to tell her, look, yes, you can argue with me and all that stuff, but it's not going to change the fact that this is the better way. Or
So
that's what I think.
I believe
And
a
if she
my way
finds one that's
highway.
better, maybe she can argue, but so far she has not.
But
And I've also indicated to her the way you handle people is extremely important.
I agree.
You cannot think that everybody is below you and that they should just follow what you decide. Because she that's the way she's coming across to me.
So
Like
just to
I
pause, and
must
I
follow
really am
whatever edict
interjecting,
she
and I'm going to
detects.
challenge you, Michael. I'm challenging you because what you just said, your opinion of her is your approach of my way or the highway. So I'm going to challenge you because what you're,
say that.
I feel, I'm just saying, I just want to challenge, is the my way or the highway approach not equivalent to how you just characterized her?
Yes, I just characterize her that way because the way she handled the way I proposed or the matter that I proposed was totally different to what I assumed she was going to do.
And that's the thing.
You just said totally that different, and that created a reaction from other people that was very bitter.
So your
she
quote,
involved other people that
your quote is,
all
I
these
assume
advantages or doors that she had available for her that were open just got shut. And I couldn't do anything because it's like, it's all her. This is all you. This is all you. It's in your department.
Just
Isn't a woman supposed to have sensitivity and supposed to have all these abilities to navigate communication, etc., etc. That's a woman is what's all about. How can they go crazy?
Michael, calm down. Michael, calm down. Calm down for a second. Calm down. All right, calm down.
You went in expecting her to do one thing and she did another. And that's what we were talking about earlier, is that when you go in with an expectation, you are almost setting yourself up for disappointment. If you guys could have done a no my way plan and there could have been meeting in the middle.
Yeah, social skills. There can't be my way or the highway. Nikki, I saw you on mute. Please feel free.
So I was actually agreeing with Michelle about the when you show up with expectations, you are setting yourself up for a disappointment. And a lot of times, now I missed some of what was happening because I stepped away. And while I'm trying to prepare some tea for relaxation, I started hearing rah, 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 rah,
That's Michael and Michelle. It wasn't me.
And but I caught up to Michelle saying, when you show up with expectations, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. And I think what a lot of people miss is most of the times when we set expectations on others, the expectations that we set are unrealistic.
Exactly.
Or
you wouldn't be setting them. Or you wouldn't be setting those stipulations. You want to do it your way. You can't do that. You got to meet it 50% because you guys have a kid.
I agree. You have to meet halfway somewhere, right?
I mean, you
Now,
can do it, but you're just going to
it's not,
keep
hold
having
on.
these revolving cycles if you continue in that behavior with
Yeah.
those social skills. So just you're in that revolving door of repetition that you don't want.
See, what we need is simply to develop the skills to foster collaboration and cooperation, because you must work together for the sake of your child.
No, she
Guess
doesn't
what?
have any
Oh,
skills.
I am
That's-
psychologically.
I'm not gonna shoot her yet.
Let me
I'm
introduce this to
saying
you.
I'm
Let me
giving
introduce this
you
to
my
you.
I'm giving you my recipe, Michael, right?
Go ahead.
And your relationship needs to be built on trust,
Yes.
mutual respect, and that thing called communication. When I asked you what could she have done differently, if I was talking to her, now I would say simply, you need to develop better communication skills and to find a way of talking to Michael that involves listening to what he thinks as much as you talking, but more listening than you talking, right? That's number one. Make a list, Michael, if you want to, if you care to, right?
I'd love to make a list, but then I
Team
have to get over the
replay.
fear.
Hold on. Yeah, team replays, that is true. Effective
I've got to
communication.
get over the fear.
No, look,
Because
let me tell you how people get
I'll
over
tell
the
you
fear.
why. Let me tell you why. Because I literally fear her. I do not want to be in the same room as her.
I just talked about building trust on your relationship. Without that, you're gonna keep having these dramas every time. I'm saying you can't.
I have to get to that point where I can actually think of saying I can trust this person. I can't. I'm having difficulty getting to that point.
Go, Nikki.
Can I say something? It honestly
Hold on.
sounds.
Hold on. Let's hear from Nikki.
With her, it's like me arguing with my mom.
Don't do that.
Stepmom.
You're never gonna win. Don't do that.
And that's how I've ended up. I say, okay, she's just acting like my mom, because the way I feel is the way I felt with my stepmom. At some point.
Hold on.
Many points in my life.
Hold on, Michael. Hold on. Let's hear from Nikki. Let's hear from Michelle B. And then I'll continue with my recipe for the social skills that will get you what you want and get her what she wants. That's what social skills are. There's a simple formula, Michael. It's not rocket science.
Not at all.
Nikki, please talk to us.
So, firstly, I'm wondering if this is a conversation that needs to stay live.
Exactly what I was going to say.
I'm honestly, I'm not feeling like it is.
I agree. I think that the beginning gave good awareness, but it's sidebar.
Yes, so I'm glad I'm not the only one then. So with that being said, I would like to motion that we actually pin this right here, pin where we're at, and maybe talk as a collective for everyone that's willing, because I'm definitely willing, behind the scenes.
Yeah, this isn't anything for. I apologize to myself and to anyone else out there, but stuff like this is not for the
needed.
world.
It's good that it happened.
Michelle, I'm gonna meet you for a second. Hear from Michelle.
Exactly.
I'm fine with that.
Great. So let's pull the gloves off. Right now, let's pull the gloves off. Let's let you two calm down. Right?
I agree with that.
Everybody go to your corners.
Michael, go to the red corner, and the X can go in the blue corner, right?
In your corner, Michael.
I'll sit there and be quiet, listen to you guys.
No, not that's it, Michael. No, when I said I like real life situations to deal with, this is it, right?
Yeah, this is
it. Please hear me out, all of you, and tell me whether you think this might work, because this is the social skills recipe. It really is. There is one. all situations, but as Nick is saying, you both have to agree to take the gloves off and stop fighting. You need to communicate. You must find a way to work together. I'm not saying she gets what she wants. I'm saying just work together in a way that it's more about your kid than her, if you ask me. But that's between you and her, right? But like I say, now the recipe, Michael, is real communication, effective communication, where you listen to each other. That's number one. Number two, simply work on understanding how each other feel. Yes, you have your idea of her reaction, but how's she really feeling? And does she even know how you're feeling, really? If you don't understand how each other are feeling, you have no social skills in that sense. You have no empathy. You have no understanding of the other person's view. And in social skills, you must understand how the other person feels, right? Number three, Michael, you need conflict resolution skills. You need to handle conflict. Hold on, you need to handle conflict in a way that it does not destroy the quality of your relationship. You need to find a way to address your differences, Michael, without escalating the situation, without escalating the tension, the fighting, and damaging trust on both sides. There's a way to develop each of these, right?
Yep.
Somewhere down the line, Michael, you two have lost your rapport, the sense of trust with each other. I'm not going to go into it. I don't care how you've done that. I'm saying that's the fact, right?
It's a fact.
You need to build a great relationship that's built on trust. No relationship can carry on or grow or thrive unless you have rapport, unless you have that feeling that each of you has been authentic, understanding of each other, and consistent in your interactions. Right. The last one I'm going to say to you, Michael, is you need to work on your influence and persuasion skills. That's social skills in a nutshell. You need to find a way that you can influence and persuade each other in a way that's ethical and collaborative, cooperative, call it what you like, right? It's not about manipulating the other one. We talked about this a lot today. It's about understanding each other's needs and then guiding the other one towards the shared goal. The shared goal here is not the money she wants, Michael. The shared goal here is the kid, right? There's also things that come into each of those 6 things I just mentioned. I'm saying, unless you find your way to do those 6 things, I don't know. Well, the Nikki says, let's talk. I'm all for people. Of course, I'm all for all people talking. I really am. Talk. Find a way to truly move beyond just reacting to actually working out what you want, working out what she wants, and then finding that middle ground. But it's based on communicating, Michael.
Yeah. Yep. I guess I carry too much baggage in order to be able to stop myself from doing that. I guess I got to get rid of that baggage first.
Yeah, I'm not going to stand here and say it's you, because I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't know her. I don't know your relationship. I'm saying, but if I was talking to her, I'd say exactly the same thing I just said to you.
Yeah,
exactly the same 6 things. You can't do those 6 things, and you suddenly find that you have a conversation, a real communication going on, which will help you to get nearer to getting what you want, and her to getting nearer to what she wants. That's the only way you're going to find peace in this situation, sure. And this is the same with any social situation. Win-win is the game that we're playing. Michelle, I'm sure wondering why now. Given that we didn't practice the win, what's the game we're playing conversation. But this is the game you're playing. You have you both have to win somehow. And that win is not material thing. That win is on an emotional and psychological level.
I'll try that. We'll see how that goes.
Good luck, and do meet with Nikki. And I'll leave the StreamYard open. You lot can talk away. I probably gotta get some food to eat. Not sure if Michelle's want to join, by all means. Michelle B, talk to us.
I'm, you know what? I had a very easy divorce. um, you make it what you want to, but we wanted a divorce. It doesn't sound like she really does, or that she has the tools to go forward on her own. So she does. I mean, I see that too, and I can understand that. And that's got to suck for her, if you think about it, Michael, because she's got to come and kind of beg you, if you think about it. And she's obviously lonely. You guys have a kid, and that's hard. And you got to put both of your life to the side and honestly say, our lives don't matter. That little one right there does. And that's what we had to do. And at no point, even he will tell you, she doesn't bother me. I don't bother her. Yes. Yeah. We don't even have to talk, actually. He will, when our daughter was younger, when she was the last one here, and he would fly back into the States, he'd be like, hey, I'm in the States. And that's all he would have to say. It wouldn't be hello or anything like that. We didn't need that. And he would already have a plane ticket paid for and ready for her at the airport. And I would just automatically take her there, and she would go to the East Coast. It was always easy peasy. But I mean, we had to come to an understanding, and especially, I hate to say this, me, because women, we all have hormones, and when we get hurt, we want to hurt the person we love, not anyone else, only the person we love. And that's what we do. And if luckily I realized that a long time ago, so I've never done it to my exes. But let me tell you something, I've seen a lot of women do it, and it's very easy to do. I've caught myself thinking about it a couple times, just going, ugh, but then I'm just like, well, why am I even worried about it? He doesn't even live, or it doesn't even affect me. And when it came to money, honestly, I know everyone's about child support and everything like that, but he needed to build his life, and I needed to build my life. And so we both just paid for the kids. When the kids needed something, I'd be like, hey, yo, I can't pay for this now. And he would buy it and actually send it to the house. And that way it was like he was so much more involved, even though he was out to sea. Like, I never bought my daughter dolls because that was always her dad and hers things, and we had to go around and do things like that. Did he make more money than me? Of course he did. Did he ever flaunt it in front of me? At no point did he. Ever. But our daughter always came home with new clothes, plants, everything like that, whatever she needs. And that way, hormonal Michelle, if she's having a bad day, doesn't take it out on Lizzie's dad. And he didn't do anything. So I mean, it's hard for women to break the. It's hard for women to, not the chain. I wouldn't say it's the chain. It's hard for us to break away, and especially if there's a child involved, because we look at that child and we see both of us in it, and then at the same time you remember all the good things, and then she had to call you and and tell you what she wanted, and at the same time she's hurt because of everything, because she still loves you. And that's how it goes with anyone that has a child. And I don't care who they are. If you have had a child together, it happens. And that's okay because it's for the love of the child, nothing else. And that's all I know. I mean, yeah. Thank you.
I see you're muted, Nikki. Ty, if you're on my YouTube, please like today's video. You know what to do, my friend. You're a YouTube guy. Like,
Wait a minute, who is Ty? I can't see.
Ty is DL property guys in the comments.
Oh,
Yeah,
see, I can't.
is a real estate agent in the
Oh,
Dominican Republic. It's more than a real estate agent. He's one of my true best friends. And so I'm gonna go on holidays to get out spend time with him and his family.
oh, any of
Somewhere.
the wizard's friends. Any of the wizard's friends. Hello.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him here all this time, but they never they don't come along. But Ty's here today. I'll take that. Nikki, you've unmuted.
So I would like to add this before we talk in the back, if we're going to talk in the back, that children in toxic relationships, be they short term or long term, but especially in marriage, children are hurt and affected more when parents stay together in toxic relationships, in abusive relationships, even when the parents do it for them because they don't want them to either be in grow up in broken homes or feel like it's their fault or unloved. The impact that children have from parents staying together for their sake and for the image of family is a lot of times a lot more damaging, and it rolls over in other ways. They know children are a lot more intuitive than what we give them credit for when it comes to matters of the household and relationships. They may not either be able to express it or express it in language, but they express it in other ways. And it's usually in their expression, usually shows up in behavior, in negative societal behavior.
I hear you so much, Nikki. I hear you. Hopefully, Michael has heard you too, and he says he'll have a conversation. Brave man is what I say. Brave man, but I'm just glad I got to get through my 6 social skills that we need to truly work on. Effective communication, assessing how others feel. And I know I mentioned them as we've been going on. Resolving conflict without escalating everything, building rapport and trust, and developing influence and persuasion skills. Look, and I can see we're going towards 3 hours, my friends. We have to go sometime, right? I'm
I
sure
have
that
another meeting actually, so I do have to go, you guys. I'm actually
yeah,
getting
I think I'll bring this conversation back somehow in going forward. But thank you, everyone. Ty, you made my day. If anyone wants to go on holiday to Dom Rep, talk to Ty. Sasora Beach is a place to be for sure. We've been going there probably since 2008.
Oh wow!
It's the only place I will go. My family can go to Europe sometimes, but I don't go there. Because I've seen it, done it. Thank you so much. I will say again, thank you so much, everyone. Michelle's, thank you so much. Hopefully, I think we've got a topic to talk about in our next room if you want to talk about it. So I think even looking at the interface between autism and social skills is one I think could be worth looking at.
Ooh, for next week?
Yeah, well, yeah, if not just another time. But I'm saying that's a conversation. I think,
I mean, just
you know,
neurodivergence as a whole, not even just
yeah,
specifically the autism, but just neurodivergence collectively with social skills.
yes.
Yes.
I mean, some of the things that we take as part of the social skills repertoire, social cues, and eye contact, and so on and so forth. I know many people struggle with. This how do we overcome that? That's what I'm thinking. But I know by the time you two add your thinking to it and what you want to get in the conversation, it might evolve into something a bit different. It's cool. It's cool. And Professor Roxana says, I appreciate you, Michelle Ramos. Thanks for your shares on social skills. We'll appreciate you, Michelle Ramos. Of course we do.
I love you, Michelle Ramos.
No one loves me. God help us. But I'll live. I'll live. Michelle Ramos is a star. It's fine. He's fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. Look, Nikki, thank you so much, and especially for your patience today. Of course, for your additions as well, and in advance for what you're going to contribute to Michael's life to make him a bit happier. Michael, I'm glad you came back.
Thanks for letting me decompress. I certainly appreciate.
As long as you feel better, Michael. As long as you feel
The
better.
biggest takeaway for me is
I will
Michael's saying he's aware he needs to change, or that the situation,
always
like for
love it.
me, that is like that awareness,
Hmm.
that's the biggest takeaway. It's not even the depths of, we need to sidebar. Just the he can admit there's a problem is massive.
Yeah, look, it makes me feel like my time has been well spent, Michelle. I agree with you on that one. I know it means the things we've been talking about for the last few weeks, the self-awareness, regulating your emotions, the having the clarity in your values and what's important to you. And so all the way to the empathy that we talked about last time, and then today's social skills. It's all important. And I don't expect anyone to suddenly become a different person tomorrow. But what we can do is begin to explore those areas, and acknowledge them as important in who we are and how we behave, and then learn what we can to improve in each of those areas. That's what I've done with this series, really. I know these things were there, but I didn't know how to actually apply them, methodically or strategically, as Michelle would call it in her own language, right? Nikki, what's your last word today, my friend?
My last word today is try to take few things personal.
Mm, agree. I think understanding where others are coming from. This is the empathy conversation. Maybe also a bit of this self-awareness thing. If we can't work out how we feel, how can one understand others? So we do have to work on seeing where people are coming from before we respond, react. Respond is always better than reacting. You know, gauge where you really are, and then decide how you want to take things forward. Take things forward. We must. That doesn't disappear. Michelle B, what's your last word for the day? Are you
Thank you
still
so
there?
much, you guys. Yes, I'm still here. Thank you, Michelle and Nikki. Thank you so much, Nick. I'm going to get a hold of you tomorrow. Michelle and Ramos, I got to start. Yeah, thank you. I gotta quit calling you Michelle one. I keep answering for you too. And people are like, "Who the hell are you?" I'm Michelle. Don't make me do that. No, I'm just kidding. No, you guys, thank you for everything and just being beautiful souls. And we got this. We can do all this together. And if we just keep doing this right
Thank
here.
you.
And
Thank
you're a
you.
wizard, and we're gonna if The Rock is out there listening, I'm going to need your tutu and your wand because we're going to dress up any with you. And
I'm
I will
ignoring her. I'm not going to wear a tutu. No time. I'm not going to wear a tutu.
and I will even donate money
No.
to The Rock's charity if he hears me right now. I know he's in Nevada in
I
Las
tell you what.
Vegas.
If I see a benefit for me, I might think about it. Until then, no. How's that?
But
How's that?
you guys,
Anyway,
thank you. And Annie, you're
thank
great.
you.
You're a great guy for doing all this. And you know
Thank
what? You are a wizard for being the mental health wizard. Is
Thank
what you
you.
are.
Thank you for being legends in my life and I don't know, especially in my work as well. Michelle, we got work to go and do, Michelle. We got content to create, right? I got meetings with clients, so don't shrug your shoulders. You got work to do. Anyway, we'll talk later. Bye, everyone. Have
Bye,
a 2
you
weeks
guys.
time.
Love you. Thank you.
I probably want to talk about this body language in 2 weeks time. I'm fascinated by what it is. So bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Every step forward is a new beat to your drama. She's success with Global.Media.com and celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. She's success with Global.Media.